Chapter 5:15. Wanted for arrest? The White Sand City Lord slowly poured wine for Dongbu Shuaing, then for himself. Only after he was done did he say, "Brother Dongbu, what exactly did you do? How did you get the Bloodshed God Palace to send out an army to capture Venomous Ying? You should know that the Bloodshed God Palace usually dispatches an army with concrete evidence, and only after the officials in charge of the matter have passed the report will the order be issued." Dongbu Shuang smiled mysteriously. "Of course I have concrete evidence. I went to the Temporal Temple to investigate the most recent collection of faith energy from all the planets in the White Yang starfield." Ruthless enough. "How many deity crystals?" the White Sand City Lord asked. 30 million. Dongbu Shuang felt his heart ache. "It's you." The White Sand City Lord sighed. "The nest of myriad devils is responsible for collecting faith energy across 32 starfields over a long period of time. Your evidence is only from a single starfield, and it was collected in the last 10,000 years. Usually, such a small amount of embezzlement would not warrant the dispatch of a first-class army. Venomous Ying has the face of her brother, so the officials would not be too harsh. Most of the time, they would first issue an order to reprimand her. Venomous Ying would then find a scapegoat and say that it was her subordinate's embezzlement. She would then pay several times the fine. That would usually cover up the matter. It's a pity that the one who acted this time was Your Highness Dongbu. Those officials did not hesitate to stand by your side, so they would definitely send an army to capture you." The White Sand City Lord shook his head. Venomous Ying was so frightened that she ran away, not daring to go to the Bloodshed God Palace. Dongbu Shuang said, "She has a guilty conscience. How many of the various powers are truly clean? If they were truly clean, would they be able to support so many subordinates?" the White Sand City Lord asked. "I know, but it's rare to see someone as greedy as Venomous Ying." Dongbu Shuang said, "My Calm Sea Prefecture's eastern region is collecting faith energy as a whole, while the nest of myriad devils is responsible for 32 starfields." The White Sand City Lord nodded. "That's true. The other powers do not have a strong background in the Bloodshed God Palace, so they would not dare to be too unsightly. Usually, they would be a little greedier. For example, they would be greedy for 20% of it. Venomous Ying is even more vicious. She left a loophole on her own, and I have the right to supervise her. No one can say that I'm wrong to deal with her like this. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for courting death," Dongbu Shuang said casually. This time, it was Imperial Monarch Wu Chen who protected her. Otherwise, with her own strength, how could she have escaped from the army? But she's no longer a concern. The White Sand City Lord drank his wine. Since she's wanted by the Bloodshed God Palace, she has to be careful at all times. She doesn't dare enter the territory of the Bloodshed God Palace. After all, without her rank, anyone can kill her. Dongbu Shuang nodded. Now that Venomous Ying was carefully fleeing in all directions, it would be difficult to track her down. However, it was nothing to worry about. His strength would increase rapidly when he was weak. Of course, it would take him a long time in the future. The amount of time required to advance from Stage 3 to Stage 4 world deities was much longer, and the distance between Stage 4 world deities and powerful existences was even greater. Many geniuses had been obstructed at this step. However, as long as he became a Stage 3 world deity, coupled with his absolute arts, he would be able to move unhindered. When that time came, he would just have to pay some attention to Venomous Ying and find an opportunity to get rid of her. In truth, Dongbu Shuang no longer cared about her. He was more concerned about the eternal Wind Knight, Qiu Qi-bai, who had guided him into becoming a transcendent. Qiu Qi-bai had always taken good care of him, and the two of them had an extremely good relationship. When Qiu Qi-bai died, Dongbu Shuang had also felt terrible. However, he lacked the strength to enter the Dark Abyss. The deity world and the Dark Abyss were enemies. Only powerful existences might have some friendship with each other, but at the world deity level, they would kill each other countless times. The great demon god did not care about Dongbu Shui Ying's identity. Whenever they saw a guest from the deity world, they would definitely think of a way to kill or capture them alive to conduct all sorts of bloody experiments. It must be known that the will of the abyss would reward these abyssal lifeforms for killing outsiders. The will of the material world cared for and protected them. Living in the material world, even the Blood Blade and the others would have their long-range killing abilities greatly reduced. Without an oath, they could at most kill a stage 2 world deity with a thought. If they were in the deity world or the dark abyss, the Blood Blade and the others would be many times more powerful. As for the will of the abyss, it was all about killing, devouring, bloodshed, and darkness. The more abyssal lifeforms killed, especially those from the deity world or the material world, the more they would be rewarded by the will of the abyss. As such, without sufficient strength, the moment one entered, they would only be surrounded and attacked. Once I reach the peak of stage 4 world deity level, I will be able to give it a try. At that time, any abyss sovereign will no longer be able to kill me. Dongbu Shuang thought. The sovereigns of any layer of the dark abyss were all stage 4 world deities at the very least. Eternal Wind, I hope that you can hold on for a little longer. Given the methods of the great demon god, he will most likely torture you for a long time. As he thought of this, Dongbu Shuang felt his heart ache. He felt helpless. For the sake of saving Eternal Wind, he actually hoped that the great demon god would torture and imprison Qiu Qi for a little longer. How laughable was that? Within a chain of black palaces, countless beauties were walking about. One of the more remote courtyards was where the venomous Ying world deity lived. The venomous Ying world deity looked at the endless starry sky in the direction of the territory of the bloodshed god palace. Damn it! If I could have forced Dongbu Shuang to self-detonate back then, preventing him from participating in the myriad flower feast, that would have been great. Even though I would have to bear some responsibility for forcing him to his death, I wasn't the one who killed him. But I wasn't the one who killed him. He was the one who killed himself. The venomous Ying world deity felt as if countless ants were gnawing at her heart. If he hadn't participated in the myriad flower feast, he wouldn't have been able to become a disciple of his god emperor, and he wouldn't have risen so quickly. Furthermore, he even has an absolute art. A stage 2 world deity was actually able to suppress me. The venomous Ying world deity was filled with envy and unwillingness. The myriad poison record she had obtained through a fortuitous encounter would have been considered an absolute art if she had been in its complete form. The difference between an incomplete and a complete version was simply too great. Take the secret techniques of the sealed world pagoda, for example. Every single one of them could be considered a fragment of an absolute art. It's too late for regrets. Too late. The venomous Ying world deity looked in the direction of the territory of the bloodshed god palace. No matter how ruthless or cruel she was, at this moment, all she felt was helplessness. She was clear. That brat she had never placed in her eyes was now someone she could only look up to. Furthermore, she believed that he would continue to grow at a terrifying rate. In the future, becoming an overlord of the deity world would be a simple matter. He was an existence she could not shake. As time passed, the gap between them would only grow wider and wider. If I could become a stage 4 world deity. The venomous Ying world deity gritted her teeth. The pride in her heart allowed her to hold on to a strand of hope. Time was merciless. The world of the Xia people was changing rapidly. More transcendents were born, and the population was multiplying. It was now common for transcendents to enter the Crimson Rock Mountain world to train. After all, there was no longer any need to hide the fact that Dongbu Shuang was in control of the Crimson Rock Mountain. After all, he had already become the personal disciple of His Majesty. How could he not be in control of the Crimson Rock Mountain? The deity world and the dark abyss had not changed at all. After all, 30,000 years was a very short period of time even for an ordinary deity. And during these 30,000 years, Dongbua Shuiying's influence in the Calm Sea Prefecture grew. People like the White Sand City Lord, General Wu, and King Tsong Xia would come to visit him and even spar with him. Everyone knew that Dongbua Shuiying would soon become a stage 3 world deity. At that time, his strength would most likely be even more terrifying. Naturally, Dongbua Shuiying's influence would also grow. Even Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qingyao had become disciples of the top powers in the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. Even the second prince and the others under the Calm Sea Prefecture master would have to treat Dongbua Yu and the others politely. As for Dongbua Shuiying, he was no longer on the same level as the second prince and the others. The more Dongbua Yu and Dongbua Qingyao interacted with each other, the wider their horizons became. They soon discovered that deities were extremely rare even among the disciples of the major powers. That was because deities had a short lifespan, and those who could live for a long time were all world deities. The two of them were also very diligent in their cultivation. They had inherited their parents' innate talents and had long since reached the peak of the deity realm. However, it was not so easy for them to become world deities. There was another reason for this. Dongbua Shuiying and Jing Qiu had not allowed their children to absorb faith stones. The two of them had long since discussed that they would not allow their children to absorb faith stones for 10 million years. If they could not become world deities within 10 million years, then they would absorb faith stones. Chapter 5:16. Calm Sea Prefecture, East Region City. In a luxurious restaurant, there was a man in a green robe and a man in a gray robe who were eating and drinking casually. Moreover, they were looking outside through the window. With their eyesight as universe gods, although they were quite far away, they could still clearly see the main entrance of the supervisor's mansion, which was the most eye-catching one. "Sir, that Shang Yi has changed his appearance to become Dongbua Shuiying's disciple, by Li Shang. Now that we've confirmed it, what should we do? Should we find an opportunity to kill him?" the gray-robed man asked. While the two were conversing, their surroundings were also shielded from all probing, so they were not afraid of anyone eavesdropping. The green-robed man frowned as he watched from afar. Back when the ruins collapsed, a large number of world deities fled in all directions. No one knows which world deity obtained that supreme treasure. Furthermore, all of them were frightened and became extremely cautious. Monarch Tsang tried his best to find a few of them, even going all out through karma. Although he managed to find them one by one, out of the 395 world deities we've found so far, not a single one of them has a supreme treasure. Although we've already found another world deity, who knows if this Shang Yi has a supreme treasure or not. After all, many world deities had failed. Monarch Tsang Yong even suspected that there was no supreme treasure within the ruins. However, the large number of other treasures and evidence he had obtained pointed to one thing: the most important supreme treasure was within the ruins. This was also the reason why Monarch Tsang Yong had spared no expense in searching for world deities. The green-robed man shook his head. If he was hiding alone, we could have easily captured him. But now, he has joined Dongbua Shuiying's faction. Furthermore, he is one of the commanders of his personal guard. We want to capture a commander of his personal guard, but how could Dongbua Shuiying allow us to do so? Monarch Tsang Yong is afraid of Dongbua Shuiying? The gray-robed man could not help but ask. Monarch Tsang Yong is naturally not afraid of Dongbua Shuiying. However, there is no need for him to do so, nor is he willing to make an enemy out of him. The green-robed man glanced at the gray-robed man. Dongbua Shuiying is not someone to be trifled with. After all, he is the personal disciple of Blood Blade. He possesses a legendary absolute art. Even I would not be a match for Dongbua Shuiying. In the future, he will become a terrifying existence that even the monarch would not wish to offend. If he were to become a Stage 4 world deity, he would definitely dominate all Stage 4 world deities. The gray-robed man nodded. What should we do? He is, after all, one of his personal guards. If he was just an idle guest, Dong Bo Shuang wouldn't have gone overboard in protecting him. But he will definitely protect the commander of the personal guards. The green-robed man pondered and his voice became cold. However, the monarch has already paid a huge price for the relic treasure. No matter what, we have to screen every single one of the universe gods who escaped back then. We cannot let any of them go. Yes. The gray-robed man suddenly said, "Look, Shang Yi has returned to the supervisor envoy's estate." King Commander Flying Commander, Commander bye-bye, and robed man said, with, Commander Commander, Commander Commander Commander, Commander, robed Commander. Commander, in, and, King, Commander, long by, Emperor, Commander, High Emperor, and one. Shang Yi can be considered quite handsome. The green-robed man shook his head. He sure is cautious. The world deities who had escaped were all cautious, so Monarch Sangyong had a hard time finding them. In the end, Monarch Sangyong had to rely on karma to track them down. However, Monarch Sangyong himself had not grasped the karma deity heart. Those who absorbed the power of faith and were bound by karma found it hard to grasp the karma deity heart. Thus, they had to rely on the karma between themselves and these world deities to search for Shang Yi in the vast deity world. Alright, you can all disperse. I will be going into seclusion for a period of time. If there's nothing important, you guys can do as you see fit, Bai Li Shang casually ordered after returning to his cave dwelling. Yes, Commander. The soldiers also laughed and dispersed. Due to Dongbua Shui Ying's growing influence, the various powers of the Calm Sea Prefecture Eastern region were all very obedient. Even those with strong backgrounds and connections did not dare to take too much faith from him. In their words, Dongbua Shui Ying's cultivation speed is astonishing. It won't be long before he becomes even stronger. His Majesty, God Emperor, will probably give him a promotion. While he's still a supervisor, it's best not to provoke him. Thus, be it the personal guard or the supervisor army, they were all very relaxed. Life is indeed very leisurely. Bai Li Shang quickly entered his cultivation room. Distorting spacetime, he shielded himself from probing. He then took out a wooden box and opened it. Inside the wooden box was a black sphere with uneven patterns. Bai Li Shang gently caressed the black sphere. The black sphere slowly lit up, and the uneven patterns began to emit light, illuminating the surrounding space. The complex three-dimensional pattern was still as mysterious and unfathomable as ever. This was the most complex and mysterious pattern Bai Li Shang had ever seen in his life. Even some of the arrays in the prefecture city could not compare to it. Monarch Sangyong risked his life and paid such a huge price, sending so many world deities to their deaths, all for you. Bai Li Shang caressed the black sphere, his eyes filled with anxiety. But what secret do you have? What is it? An absolute art? A powerful and unique treasure? It had been more than 30,000 years. He had tried all sorts of methods, refining methods, sensing methods, and even using brute force to gradually increase his strength. However, he could not shake the black sphere in the slightest. It simply stood there, unbreakable, unshakable, and unrefined. Other than the incomparably mysterious three-dimensional pattern that appeared when world deity energy was poured into it, there was nothing else it could do. I can feel that something is wrong. Bai Li Shang grew anxious. What exactly is wrong? What secret do you have? The treasure was in his hands, but he was unable to unravel its mysteries. Bai Li Shang was also anxious. Within the supervisor residence, only the front part of the residence was occupied by the personal guard army. The wider area behind it was occupied by Dongbua Shui Ying's family, as well as the cultivation grounds. In a dark and sealed underground hall, Dongbua Shuang was sitting cross-legged by himself. Rumble, countless scenes appeared around him. The world was collapsing, the chaos hole was collapsing, and the extremity was faintly visible. There were also scenes of flowers and grass withering, scenes of flying insects and beasts turning into skeletons, and scenes of raging flames turning the entire forest into ashes. Countless scenes appeared. The surroundings of these scenes were rippling with a horrifying intent of destruction. World, chaos, whole, extremity. These three were the three stages of the great destruction of the laws of heaven and earth. Dongbua Shuang was continuously pursuing his most powerful killing move, the spear technique, destruction, to become even more perfect. He also wanted to use this opportunity to comprehend the extremity deity heart. Extremity. When he was young, Dongbua Shuang was the first to comprehend the true meaning of extreme piercing. Now that he had comprehended the world deity heart and the chaotic deity heart, the extremity deity heart was the slowest. This was because the extreme piercing and the extremity deity heart were worlds apart. In fact, they were completely different directions. Extreme piercing was an extreme path. The extremity deity heart, on the other hand, was an absolute unity and balance. It was the beginning and the end of everything. He had long understood this point. It was just that the beginning and the end of everything in the laws of heaven and earth, that incomparably mysterious one, was extremely hard to grasp. After comprehending the spear technique, destruction, for so many years, in addition to his deep foundation in the aspect of extremity, Dongbua Shuang had long grasped that layer of muslin. It was just a layer of muslin, but he was unable to grasp it no matter what. I can feel myself getting closer and closer to it. Dongbua Shuang smiled faintly, and the countless scenes of destruction around him dissipated. There's no need to rush. Everything will come naturally. He then stood up. Dongbua Shuang walked out of the underground hall and walked up the stairs. Soon, he arrived outside. The door opened, and Dongbua Shuang walked out. This hall was a secret place where Dongbua Shuang trained. Without his permission, no one was allowed to enter. Normally, he would only bring his wife and children inside to guide them in their cultivation. The moment he walked out, an attendant respectfully said, "Your Highness, a guest has come to visit. He has been waiting for 2 days." Chapter 5:17. 2 days. Dongbua Shuang nodded. When he was in closed-door cultivation, it was forbidden to disturb him unless it was absolutely important. "Who is it?" "It's His Highness Long Yu and an unfamiliar stage 3 world deity," the attendant said respectfully. "His Highness Long Yu." "Bring me over," Dongbua Shuang ordered. Within the palace hall, Dongbua Shuang and his wife, Jing Qiu, received the 2 guests together. "His Highness Long Yu, you're a rare guest. The last time we met was during the Myriad Flower Feast. In the blink of an eye, 30,000 years have passed." Dongbua Shuang looked at the luxuriously dressed black-robed teenager. This black-robed teenager was the second prince of the Calm Sea Prefecture Master's Long clan. He was also the host of that banquet, which had caused enmity between Dongbua Shuang and the venomous Ying world deity. "Brother Dongbua, you can just call me Long Yu." "In front of Brother Dongbua, how would I dare to address myself as Your Highness?" Long Yu hurriedly said. Although he was favored by the prefecture master, he had remained a stage 1 world deity for many years. He had relied on his connections to maintain his influence, while Dongbua Shuang had relied on his personal strength. Even the Calm Sea prefecture master did not dare to slight him, so how could Long Yu dare to be disrespectful? Furthermore, Long Yu was feeling rather complicated. During the banquet, Dongbua Shuang had only been a deity, at least on the surface. In the blink of an eye, his status had undergone a heaven-toppling transformation, to the point where he was now ranked within the top 3 of the Calm Sea prefecture. "I've only come today to help introduce you." Long Yu smiled at the green-robed man beside him. "This is Mao Xiao, a subordinate of my father's good friend, Monarch Sang Yong." "World deity Mao Xiao." Dongbua Shuang nodded. The green-robed man humbly said, "This Mao Xiao has come under orders, but I've never met Your Highness before. I hope that Your Highness can introduce me." "Under orders?" Dongbua Shuang was astonished. Sitting beside Dongbu Shuang, Jing Qiu was also looking down curiously. You came under orders from Monarch Sangyong? Asked Jing Qiu, who was sitting beside Dongbu Shuang, curiously. Yes, I have come here on the orders of the monarch, said the green-robed man. A large amount of information regarding Monarch Sangyong immediately surfaced in Dongbu Shuaying's mind. Monarch Sangyong was also a stage 4 world deity. However, he was different from Monarch Mo Shui, who had lived for far too long and could have his true deity heart crumble at any moment. Monarch Sangyong was still very young and had friends from all over the world. Such a young stage 4 world deity was something most powers would not be willing to offend. This was because they could still live for a long time, and their chances of becoming almighty beings were greater. People like Monarch Mo Shui and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master might be able to grow stronger with time, but their potential had long since been exhausted. The chances of them becoming powerful existences were extremely slim. I have never met Monarch Sangyong before, so why did he send you here to see me? Dongbu Shuang asked. Monarch Sangyong originally wanted to come personally. However, he is currently tied up by some matters, so he is unable to come. I hope that your highness can forgive me. The green-robed man lowered his posture. I have indeed come here to trouble your highness with something. Please speak. Dongbu Shuang lifted his wine cup and took a sip. The green-robed man said, there is a stage 2 world deity by the name of world deity Shang-Yi. He has a grudge against my monarch. Monarch Sangyong has never forgotten this grudge. However, world deity Shang-Yi carries a treasure that can confuse spacetime, making it very difficult to track him down. However, Monarch Sangyong still spared no effort to use karma to track him down. In the end, he still managed to find this world deity Shang-Yi. Long Yu, who was standing to the side, exclaimed, using karma to track him down. It seems that Monarch Sangyong hates this world deity Shang-Yi to the core. Yes. The green-robed man nodded. We found world deity Shang-Yi's whereabouts, so we came to see your highness Dongbu. See me? I don't know any world deity Shang-Yi, Dongbu Shuang said. World deity Shang-Yi knows that Monarch Sangyong is incomparably furious, so he has been extremely careful in hiding his tracks. He has long since changed his appearance, using the pseudonym of Bai Li Shang to seek refuge under your highness's tutelage, becoming one of the commanders of your highness's personal guard, the green-robed man said. Commander Bai Li. The expressions of both Dongbu Shuang and Jing Qiu changed slightly. The commander of his personal guard had a grudge against Monarch Sangyong? If he had sought refuge under some other power, we would have long since made our move. However, since he has sought refuge under your highness, we naturally have to inform your highness first, the green-robed man said. Our monarch Sangyong has been searching for enemies for tens of thousands of years. In the end, he even used karma to find him. We hope that your highness can make things convenient and expel him from your personal guard. Making a move against the commander of Dongbu Shuaying's personal guard was the same as slapping Dongbu Shuaying's face. Even Monarch Sangyong would have to think twice before making such a move. After all, Monarch Sangyong still did not know who possessed the relic. Had he known that it was with Bai Li Shang, he would have long since disregarded everything else. I wonder what kind of grudge the Monarch Sangyong has against Bai Li Shang, Dongbu Shuang said with a frown. This is a personal grudge, and the Monarch Sangyong did not tell me about it, the green-robed man said. However, the Monarch Sangyong's killing intent is extremely strong, and he is willing to pay any price to kill Shang-Yi. Furthermore, Shang-Yi's feelings for your highness aren't sincere. He intentionally used a fake name and submitted to your highness in order to preserve his life. Dongbu Shuang frowned. Even if he used a fake name, he has been diligent and conscientious as the commander of the personal guard for the past 30,000 years. He has never made any mistakes. Your highness, you only need to expel him from your personal guard, the green-robed man said. Our monarch will naturally remember your highness's favor and will definitely repay it in the future. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. Bai Li Shang is a stage 2 world deity, while your monarch is an overlord. Did he form a grudge with your monarch? How did they form a grudge? The monarch did not say. The green-robed man felt helpless. If you clearly explain the grudge between the two sides, I will look for Commander Bai Li to interrogate him. If there is no mistake and he is indeed a treacherous person, I will expel him from my personal guard. Dongbo Shuang said indifferently. But if Commander Bai Li is innocent and has always been pursued, and he is innocent, how can I just watch him die? The green-robed man's expression changed. He was just a commander under him. After so many years, Dongbo Shuang had 4 commanders under him, as well as a few mercenaries, and more than 10 stage 2 world deities. Was there really a need for him to go against his own master, Monarch Sangyong, for a mere stage 2 world deity? Your Highness, are you not willing to expel him from your personal guard? The green-robed man frowned. Are you forcing me? Dongbo Ying's gaze turned cold. The green-robed man said in a low voice, I am not forcing you, Your Highness. It is just that my monarch will definitely not spare that world deity Shang Yi. But no one can touch my people. Dongbo Shuang said coldly. Men, send our guest off. Please. The 2 world deity guards outside the palace immediately shouted. They felt delighted. His Highness was protecting his subordinates, which naturally made them feel comfortable. The green-robed man's expression turned ugly as he stood up. There's no need. There's no need. Let's just talk things out, Long Yu said from the side. Long Yu, this has nothing to do with you. Dongbo Shuang glanced at the green-robed man. Talk things out with me, and I will give you face. You want to use Monarch Sangyong to pressure me? What a joke. The green-robed man suppressed his anger, cupped his hands, and turned to leave. Long Yu also explained, Brother Dongbo, I was just introducing you. I didn't expect things to turn out this way. However, Brother Dongbo, you must be careful. From the looks of it, Monarch Sangyong's desire to kill your subordinate, Commander Bai Li, is quite heavy. I'm afraid that the enmity between them is not small. Thank you, Dongbo Shuang said with a smile, even though he had treated the green-robed man coldly. I'll take my leave as well. Long Yu immediately chased after him. Inside the hall, Dongbo Shuang frowned. Jing Qiu, Monarch Sangyong is a stage 4 world deity, an overlord of the deity world. He has enmity with Bai Li Shang. And he's not even willing to talk about it. If he makes up a story, it'll be easily seen through, Jing Qiu said. If he doesn't want to talk about it, he probably has other secrets that he doesn't want to make public. Furthermore, stage 4 world deities have extraordinary foresight and temperament, so there's no need for them to bicker with a weakling. Monarch Sangyong has 3 children, and I've never heard of any of them being in danger. For the time being, I can't think of any reason for the enmity between the 2 of them. Dongbo Shuang nodded. This was also something that puzzled him. Without understanding the enmity between the 2 of them, how could he possibly send his subordinate to his death? By expelling Bai Li Shang from his personal guard, he was basically sending him to his death. Men, Dongbo Shuang said. Your Highness, the guards outside acknowledged the order. Tell Commander Bai Li to come see me, Dongbo Shuang ordered. Chapter 518. Bai Li Shang was currently in the cultivation room, pondering over the black sphere in his hand. The uneven patterns on the black sphere were emitting light, illuminating the surroundings. How do I break it? What exactly is the secret? Bai Li Shang was racking his brains. He was clear that this was his greatest harvest, his most important fortuitous encounter. If he could unravel the secret within, his fate would most likely be different. It was just that with the relic in his hand, Bai Li Shang could not unravel it. Suddenly, a voice came from outside. Commander Bai Li, this cultivation room array could transmit sounds from the outside, but not from within. Amen. Bai Li Shang frowned. He immediately kept the black sphere in the wooden box before opening the stone door and exiting the cultivation room. What's going on? Didn't I say not to disturb me if there's nothing important? Bai Li Shang swept his gaze around and immediately saw a world deity guard outside. He could recognize that this world deity guard was usually in charge of guarding the hall. The world deity guard chuckled. Commander Bai Li, His Highness has ordered for you to meet him immediately. His Highness? Bai Li Shang was startled. All right, I'll head over now. Bai Li Shang rushed towards the hall with a confused look on his face. He had been under Dongbua Shuang for so many years, and he had never been forcefully summoned to meet him while he was in closed-door cultivation. After all, after dealing with the venomous Ying world deity, no one dared to offend the supervisor envoy residence. The supervisor envoy residence had always been peaceful. He entered the hall. Bai Li Shang saw Dongbua Shuang and Yu Jingqiu seated on the main seats. Greetings to His Highness and Madam, Bai Li Shang said respectfully. Commander Bai Li, should I address you as world deity Shang Yi? Dongbua Shuang suddenly said. Bai Li Shang was startled. Shang Yi? Was he discovered? Was he exposed? The relic was still with him. Would this Dongbua Shuang snatch it away? As soon as his identity was exposed, his expression changed. He looked at Dongbua Shuang with a hint of panic in his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. Dongbua Shuang's strength far surpasses mine, and this is the supervisor manor, his territory. The mansion was also reinforced by countless arrays. In front of him, I had no way of fighting back. Let him do whatever he wants. My life and death are already in his hands. If that's the case, what's the point of being anxious? Bai Li Shang understood that there was no point in struggling. Hence, he stopped struggling. Soon after, he understood. No one knows that I have the relic. If he really knew that I have the relic, he would have attacked me long ago. They don't know how to talk nonsense. Shock, anger, panic, powerlessness, calmness, and rationality. All of this happened extremely quickly. Does His Highness know about it? Bai Li Shang raised his head and asked. Yeah. Dongbua Shuang nodded. You should just tell me honestly. Bai Li Shang was certain that Dongbua Shuang did not know. Furthermore, he would not reveal his most important secret until the very last moment. He immediately asked, Your Highness, how did you know my identity? Did Monarch Sangyong send someone over? Bai Li Shang was also very intelligent, so he immediately made a guess. What kind of enmity do you have with Monarch Sangyong? Shuang asked. Just now, Bai Li Shang's sudden panic had caused both him and Jingqiu to feel a strand of suspicion. I'm just a weak world deity. How could I have the qualifications to offend Monarch Sangyong? Monarch Sangyong is simply too vicious and merciless, Bai Li Shang said helplessly. He captured a group of world deities like me and forced us to enter a relic to our deaths. After the relic collapsed, many of the world deities fled in all directions. I also took the opportunity to escape, and only then did I regain my freedom. However, I never expected that Monarch Sangyong would still chase after me. Your Highness, Your Highness. Bai Li Shang looked at Dongbua Shuang and pleaded, Please protect my life, Your Highness. Without Your Highness's protection, I'm afraid that I will die without a doubt. Dongbua Shuang and Jingqiu exchanged glances. Relic? The deity world is vast, and there are many world deities. If you all escaped, then so be it. Why would he go all out to use karma to track you all down? Dongbua Shuang frowned. What do you all have that he would go all out to chase after you? Karma. Only now did Bai Li Shang understand how Monarch Sangyong was pursuing them. Karma was a very mysterious thing. Even powerful existences who had transcended the river of time and become truly eternal could still produce karma. For example, when Dongbua Shuang and the others called out the names of powerful existences, the powerful existences would be able to sense it through karma. It was also because of their realm that they could be so sensitive to karma. Ordinary stage 4 world deities who had yet to transcend would not be able to sense karma to such a degree. Let me ask you something. What do you all have that he would chase after you all? Dongbua Shuang asked. Bai Li Shang's heart tightened. I'm not too sure about that, Bai Li Shang said helplessly. My guess is that it's because we know his secret. Secret? Dongbua Shuang asked. That relic. Bai Li Shang waved his hand, causing a complicated diagram to appear in midair. This is a star chart that records the location of the relic. Originally, we did not know where it was. It was only after the relic collapsed and we escaped that we found out its exact location. Although the relic has collapsed, it is still very large. My guess is that there are some things that cannot be revealed. Dongbua Shuang looked at Bai Li Shang. Just because of the relic? I can't think of any other reason, Bai Li Shang replied. Dongbua Shuang nodded his head lightly, then instructed, Commander Bai Li, from today onwards, you will stay in the supervisor envoy's residence. Monarch Sangyong's subordinates are keeping watch outside. If you go out, you might die at any moment. Bai Li Shang was panicking. If you have a clone, it would be best for you to separate from your main body, Dongbua Shuang instructed. What is this Dongbua Shuang trying to do? Does he know that my clone is here as well? Bai Li Shang thought to himself. His main body and clone were both in the supervisor envoy's residence because he only had one treasure that could distort space. With this treasure, he was confident that he could conceal himself. If his clone were to be captured by Monarch Sangyong had plenty of ways to make it impossible for him to even commit suicide. He even had the means to search through his memories. Thank you, Your Highness. I will be careful, Bai Li Shang replied. Go, Dongbua Shuang said. Bai Li Shang respectfully retreated. Only Dongbua Shuang and Yu Jingqiu were left in the hall. The relic he mentioned shouldn't be false. It's unlikely that he would make up such a story. However, he said too little about it. Although he did provide a star map, he didn't go into detail, Dongbua Shuang said with a frown. Jingqiu chuckled. You're overthinking things. It's not like you asked him in detail. Perhaps. Dongbua Shuang nodded. However, Snow Eagle, you should have your personal guard increase their patrols. I don't think Monarch Sangyong will give up so easily, Jingqiu said. In the deity world, in the vast Sangyong Empire. This enormous empire had been single-handedly created by Monarch Sangyong, so it was only natural that his authority would reach the heavens. His will was the will of this empire. This was also the reason why so many experts were unwilling to stay in the Bloodshed God Palace, the Temporal Island, or the Myriad God Palace. Depending on someone else meant that they would have to abide by the rules and restrictions. Even killing a stage 3 world deity would have to be restricted. How troublesome would that be? Monarch. The green-robed world deity Mao Shao respectfully bowed. There was a tall figure sitting on the high and mighty white throne. There were huge bone spurs protruding from his back, and a row of bones formed a fan behind him. His head was completely bald, and there was not a single strand of hair on his face. His eyes were filled with indifference. From his appearance, it was easy to tell that he was not of human origin. Dongbua Shuang is determined to protect his personal guard. He said that if he doesn't clarify the enmity between us and world deity Shang Yi, or if he doesn't confirm the truth, he won't expel him, the green-robed man respectfully said. This Dongbua Shuang. Monarch Sangyong's slender fingers lightly stroked the armrest of his throne. He's currently in high spirits, so how could he not protect his personal guard? However, since I've already mentioned it in advance, I've already given him face. Since he refuses, he can't blame me. World deity Shintu. Hua. A figure walked out from the void to the side. He was wrapped in a black robe, and even his facial features were blurry. World deity Shintu, Dongbua Shuang is extremely powerful. I'm afraid that sending other world deities might not be enough, so I'll let you act, Monarch Sung-yong calmly said. I have no intention of becoming enemies with Dongbu Shuang, so you can act in secret and kill Shang Yi. Yes, the black-robed man respectfully replied. Chapter 5:19. What do I do if Monarch Sung-yong comes looking for me? After returning to his cave residence, Bai Li Shang dismissed his attendants. Monarch Sung-yong is vicious and merciless. He's already found Dongbu Shuang. He probably doesn't want to offend Dongbu Shuang, which is why he decided to meet him. Fortunately, Dongbu Shuang didn't agree so easily. But with Monarch Sung-yong keeping an eye on me, what can I do? And I still have to be careful of Dongbu Shuang. If he notices that something is wrong, he might make a move on me, Bai Li Shang thought. He was afraid of Monarch Sung-yong, and also afraid of Dongbu Shuang stealing the treasure. Damn it! I've been hiding so carefully, but Monarch Sung-yong still chased after me. Bai Li Shang was furious. And even now, I haven't been able to uncover the mysteries of the relic. Days passed. Bai Li Shang was also very cautious, almost never leaving his cave residence. Even if he did, it would be within the supervisor envoy's residence. Not to mention him, even Dongbu Shuang had sent his personal guards to strengthen their patrols and investigations, but they still couldn't find Monarch Sung-yong's men. In the blink of an eye, more than a month passed. The commander has been acting strange recently. He's either in seclusion or alone. Even we aren't allowed to approach him. The two maids secretly discussed with each other through voice transmissions. Not far away, there was another red-robed maid watching silently. This red-robed maid turned around and walked to a dark corner. At this time, a shadowy mist began to seep out from her pores, mouth, and nose. This gray mist flashed and seeped into the shadows of the corridor, disappearing without a trace. The shadow deity heart. On the surface, it was only a grade 2 deity heart, but it was very famous. This was because the Blood Blade, who was publicly recognized as the strongest in head-on combat in the deity world, was most famous for its three major techniques: Shadow, Destruction, and Blood Blade. The Shadow technique made Blood Blade extremely proficient in assassination, and it was known as the #1 assassin in both the deity world and the Dark Abyss. Because of this, Blood Blade had built countless Blood Blade taverns to serve assassins. Since the Blood Blade had reached an unimaginable level in Shadow, he naturally had a secret technique that he could pass on to others. It was just that it was very difficult to cultivate. The reason why World Deity Shin Tu had been sent to carry out the assassination was because he had cultivated the World Deity Grade's secret technique, Boundless Shadow, to an extremely high level and had become a super assassin. Goo goo goo. In the hall. Bai Li Shang picked up the wine pot and drank a few mouthfuls. His eyes were filled with hostility. His clone was hiding in the quiet room, but his main body was here. The surrounding space was distorted, making it difficult to probe. When will these days end? Bai Li Shang's eyes were filled with anger. Let's wait and endure. If Dongbu Shuang becomes stronger and is able to fight against stage 4 world deities, then we will have to wait and see. I'm afraid I don't have to worry. After all, even if Monarch Sung-yong personally comes, Dongbu Shuang will still be in his own territory. The arrays of the entire Eastern Region city will be supporting him, and he will definitely be able to fight against Monarch Sung-yong. However, the current Dongbu Shuang is still too weak. He can't fight against Monarch Sung-yong. Bai Li Shang continued to ponder, but he was unable to come up with any good ideas. Actually, there were other ways. For example, if he offered the relic to Dongbu Shuang would most likely do his best to help him. For example, he could even send him to live in the Bloodshed God Palace. As long as he stayed in the territory of the God Emperor, he would be absolutely safe. However, Bai Li Shang was unwilling to do so. After all, this relic was the greatest opportunity of his life. I'll just have to wait. Dongbo Shuiying's combat power is growing very quickly, Bai Li Shang thought. Phew. Suddenly, a gray fog began to appear in the shadows cast by the distant sunlight. It rapidly condensed into the shape of a person wearing a black robe. Bai Li Shang was so frightened that his face paled. He immediately recognized who it was. Shen Tu. World deity Shen Tu was monarch Zhang Yang's most ferocious lackey who specialized in assassination. He's in your hands, right? A pair of green eyes stared at Bai Li Shang from beneath the black robe. Bai Li Shang panicked. Your Highness, save me. Save me. Hua. A black-robed figure appeared behind Bai Li Shang, one in front of the other behind him. At the same time, a demonic green light lit up. It was so fast that it instantly enveloped Bai Li Shang's body. In front of world deity Shen Tu, Bai Li Shang was completely powerless. It was similar to how Dongbo Shuiying had been extremely weak in front of the stage 3 great demon god of the dark abyss when he cultivated the sealed world pagoda secret technique. It was only because the other party had his deity heart and world deity energy sealed that he was trapped and unable to escape that world deity Shen Tu had succeeded in killing him. In a head-on battle, world deity Shen Tu would have died in 2 or 3 moves. Bai Li Shang was even weaker than Dongbo Shuiying. Furthermore, world deity Shen Tu specialized in assassinations. Every move he made was extremely ruthless. Chi. After Bai Li Shang's body was slashed by the demonic green light, the green light completely enveloped him, causing his body to rapidly disintegrate. Dongbo Shuiying, who was pondering the laws of heaven and earth and researching the extremity deity heart, suddenly received a message from his communication treasure. Your Highness, save me. Save me. What? Dongbo Shuiying was shocked. It's Bai Li Shang. Could it be that monarch Zhang Yang's men have already infiltrated my supervisor envoy residence? The supervisor envoy residence was heavily guarded. There were personal guards patrolling the area, as well as arrays. Outsiders would normally be discovered. It was very difficult to avoid the arrays. However, there were countless secret techniques in the deity world, and there were all sorts of different methods. World deity Shen Tu's shadow clone had infiltrated the body of the maid, becoming one with her as he stealthily entered the residence. The arrays of the supervisor envoy residence could not detect him at all. Boom! Dongbo Shuiying did not have the time to be shocked. He immediately rushed out of the underground hall. Within Bai Li Shang's cave residence. Within his meditation room. Bai Li Shang's other clone was there. His face was filled with anxiety, and he did not dare to move. World deity Shen Tu, it's actually world deity Shen Tu. He's too powerful. I'm not his match at all. Dongbo Shuiying, hurry up and come. This is your territory. I've already become your disciple, so why aren't you here yet? Hurry up. While within the meditation room, a shadowy figure condensed on the ground. Furthermore, it was not just one. There were dozens of shadowy figures in the vast meditation room, scattered in all directions. Shadows are everywhere. As soon as I entered your cave residence, I discovered your 2 bodies. Although the monarch said that through karma, both of your bodies were in the supervisor envoy residence, I did not expect you to be in the same cave residence. This makes things much easier for me. The dozens of black-robed figures spoke at the same time, their voices ringing in Bai Li Shang's mind. Bai Li Shang clutched his head in pain. It was too painful. Even his true deity heart was being tortured. A shadowy mist was currently surrounding his head. His face, eyes, nose, and mouth were all covered by the shadowy mist. Speak. Are the items with you? If you speak, you won't have to suffer. The shadowy mist's voice resounded in Bai Li Shang's mind. No, they're not. Bai Li Shang's mind responded anxiously. Amen. Within the meditation room, the dozens of black-robed figures raised their heads at the same time. His shadow covered every corner of the cave residence. When Dongbo Shuang charged over, he naturally noticed it. You actually let Dongbo Shuang come over? Humph. You're courting death. Following a cold snort of anger. No, Bai Li Shang was terrified. Peng. Bai Li Shang's body suddenly exploded and turned into ashes. Meanwhile, a shadowy mist enveloped all of Bai Li Shang's belongings and quickly escaped. Chapter 520. Dongbo Shuang immediately rushed out of his cultivation area and soared into the sky. With a flash, he appeared right above Commander Bai Li Shang's cave dwelling. Many of the maids in the vicinity, as well as the personal guards patrolling in the distance, stared at Dongbo Shuang in bewilderment. Why had their prince suddenly appeared in Commander Bai Li's cave dwelling? Stay here. Dongbo Shuang bellowed. His voice reverberated throughout the entire supervisor envoy residence. Ha ha ha, Your Highness Dongbo, I have no other intentions in coming to your residence, nor do I have any intention of offending you. I'll be leaving right now. Please forgive me. Another cold and sinister voice resounded through the sky, and a shadowy mist instantly shot out of Commander Bai Li Shang's cave dwelling and soared into the sky. At this time, the supervisor envoy residence was in an uproar. Jing Qiu, Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, and the others also came out to watch the scene from afar. However, no one else could help. Just the time it took for the personal guards to gather and surround the enemy was more than enough for the enemy to escape. Monarch Sangyong actually sent someone to infiltrate my residence and assassinate the commander of my personal guards. Dongbo Shuang was also filled with rage. This assassin who specializes in the shadows should be world deity Shen Tu, Monarch Sangyong's subordinate. Dongbo Shuang thought. He was familiar with all the famous powers in the deity world. Monarch Sangyong had a total of 12 stage 3 world deities under his command, and world deity Shen Tu was famous for his assassination and slaughter. His strength was ranked in the top 3 of Monarch Sangyong's subordinates. His actions are truly fast. It has only been a blink of an eye since I rushed out, and Commander Bai Li has already died. He is indeed good at assassination. Shui Ying's communication treasure, Bai Li Shang, who was originally asking for help, had already quietened down forever. Don't even think about leaving today. Dongbo Shui Ying's eyes were filled with coldness. World deity Shen Tu was currently fleeing at high speed. Not good. The entire supervisor envoy mansion's array has been activated. After being reinforced by the supervisor envoys of the past, I can no longer use the boundless domain within the vicinity of the supervisor envoy mansion. We have to rush out of the supervisor's manor. Successive inspectors continue to strengthen the system. Although the method he used to sneak in was very coincidental, merging with the maid's body and avoiding the detection of the supervisor's mansion. However, the more common, infinite domain, could not be used at all. Similarly, Dongbo Shui Ying's world incarnation was also unable to break the formation. However, Dongbo Shui Ying was the one controlling the formation of the supervisor residence. If he suppressed his opponent, he naturally wouldn't suppress himself. Shua. Dongbo Shuang instantly appeared above world deity Shen Tuesday. He stared coldly at the shadowy figure and shouted, Shen Tu, are you still trying to escape? I didn't mean to offend you. A voice came from the shadowy figure. At the same time, the shadowy figure instantly split into tens of thousands of shadowy figures that flew in different directions. Dongbo Shuang frowned. He only had a maximum of 9 world bodies. Of course, he could create countless weaker illusory bodies. However, those illusory bodies were too weak and would probably not be able to withstand his attacks. Dang, 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 countless white chains rapidly flew out. All of them were condensed from luminous sun force. Moreover, the white chains flew at an extremely fast speed, as fast as light. If Dongbo Shuang were to fly by himself, he would be able to reach a speed of 300,000 kilometers per second with his current strength. However, compared to the speed of light, it was still a huge distance away. Countless dazzling white chains instantly flew out in all directions. Their speed was even faster than that of the shadowy figures. Domain-type secret skill. The boundless deity heart specializes in survival. Any one of them can be an illusory body, and any one of them can be the real body. Do you think you can trap me with such a large-scale domain-type secret skill? World deity Shinto was very disdainful. Domain-type secret skills had a large area of effect and posed a much smaller threat to an individual. World prison. Dongbua Shuang coldly watched everything. Countless thin chains had already spread out for millions of kilometers, binding and binding every single shadow. All of the other shadows dissipated. One of the shadows began to solidify. How is this possible? This shadow had completely transformed into a black-robed man. His green eyes were filled with shock, and he struggled with all his might. With a pang, he shattered the countless white chains binding him. He looked at the distant Dongbua Shuang in disbelief. Aside from being an expert in assassination, I can be considered top-notch even amongst Stage 3 world deities in direct combat. I was actually nearly unable to break free. Dongbua Shuang's domain-type secret skill is even stronger than the White Sand City Lord's annihilation White Sand. The black-robed man was shocked and furious. Hua, countless white chains covered the sky and earth as they frenziedly attacked the black-robed man. The black-robed man immediately did his best to resist. For a moment, the surrounding bewitching green blade lights lit up, slashing the white chains into pieces. However, the black-robed man was clearly having a hard time escaping. The chains were so dense that they often wrapped around his body, forcing him to struggle free time and time again. His black robes were sent flying, revealing his true appearance. He had an ugly face, grayish-white skin, and a pair of eyes that glowed green. He looked extremely ugly and evil. Your Highness, Dongbua. World deity Shinto hurriedly shouted, my monarch does not wish to become enemies with your Highness, Dongbua. There is no need for us to fight each other. This time, I have truly offended your Highness, Dongbua, and I hereby apologize to your Highness. My monarch will also send you a gift after this matter is over to resolve this small conflict between our two families. Small conflict? Dongbua Shuang took a step forward and appeared right in front of world deity Shinto's day. He looked at world deity Shinto and said, you sent your subordinates to infiltrate my residence and kill the commander of my personal guard. And you're still talking about a small conflict? Do you think that I, Dongbua Shuang, am that easy to bully? World deity Shinto felt bitter in his heart. In the monarch's heart, offending Dongbua Shuang was nothing much. It wasn't a big deal at all. After all, there were many talented world deities throughout history, but most of them eventually stopped at the stage 4 world deity realm. To take that final step and become a powerful existence was simply too rare. Just by looking at the number of powerful existences in the deity world over the years, one would be able to tell. It seems things have gotten a little troublesome. Who would have thought that other than the supervisor envoy residences arrays, Dongbua Shuang's domain-related secret skill would also be so powerful? Even I was nearly unable to break free from it. World deity Shinto felt apprehensive. Under such a domain-related secret skill, he would only be able to display 20 to 30% of his strength. It was impossible for him to be Dongbua Shuang's opponent. How could he be so powerful? If his domain-related secret skill was so powerful, how could he have allowed the venomous Ying world deity to escape back then? World deity Shinto thought. According to the published intelligence, venomous Ying had escaped together with Dong Xiao in the nest of myriad devils, and Dongbua Shuang's domain-related secret skill had been unable to stop them. World deity Shinto was extremely confident in his own strength. Since even the venomous Ying, who was weaker in close combat, was able to break his domain-related secret skill, he believed that Dongbua Shuang's domain-related secret skill would not affect him more than 30%. But he was wrong. Dongbua Shuang's strength had far surpassed his expectations. What he did not know, however, was that after 30,000 years, Dongbu Shuang, who had only been at the third revolution of his luminous sun, had now reached the fourth revolution. If he could be said to be the strongest amongst Stage 3 world deities in the past, then he was currently invincible amongst Stage 3 world deities. In front of a weaker Stage 4 world deity, he would most likely be able to withstand 2 or 3 moves. This was the luminous sun force at the grand completion of the fourth revolution. Even the domain-related secret skill he displayed was abnormally terrifying. No, no, no. We've never felt that your highness is easy to bully. It's just that this world deity Shang Yi has offended our monarch, and our monarch is determined to kill him. He's even sent an emissary over, but they were unable to come to an agreement. We could only resort to this method, world deity Shen Tu said hurriedly. His voice was somewhat hoarse. This time, it was indeed our side's fault. What's done is done, and there's no point in regretting it. Our monarch isn't willing to become enemies with your highness, so if your highness has any dissatisfaction, please state your conditions. Anything can be discussed. Chapter 521. Monarch Song-yong had not mentioned beforehand how much he was willing to compensate. This was the excuse world deity Shen Tu gave in order to plead for a better outcome. He was clear that Shui Ying's combat power had far surpassed his expectations. Although he was also adept at escaping, under the restrictions of the supervisor envoy's mansion's arrays and the terrifying domain secret skill, there was no way for him to escape. As such, he naturally began to think of ways to beg for mercy. After all, if he were to die in battle, even though this was only his body, he still had many treasures on him. If he were to die, his blood-refined divine weapon and many other treasures would all be gone. Moreover, he would have to cultivate his clone from the very beginning. Just the large amount of energy required to develop his inner world would be a huge expense. Thus, no matter what, he had to save his own life first. World deity Shen Tu squeezed out a smile on his ugly, ashen face. Your Highness, please state your conditions. My true body is by the monarch's side, so I can report this matter to him. Your Highness, your future is limitless, while my monarch has only cultivated for a short period of time to reach stage 4. Both your Highness and my monarch are destined to become overlords of our deity realm. Why should we form a grudge over such a trivial matter? If Monarch Song-yong could make amends so easily, would he have dared to send you into my residence and kill my personal guard commander? Dongbu Shuang sneered. You're just making things up. I'm not making things up. Your Highness, please state your conditions. I will help you pass on the message, and I can even temporarily stay in your Highness's residence. Once my monarch sends an apology, you can let me go, world deity Shen Tu said. Since he could not escape, temporarily staying in the supervisor envoy's mansion was not a big deal. Dongbu Shuang softly said, I'm guessing that you're saying all this to save your life. However, your monarch Song-yong was too arrogant this time, completely disregarding me. Today, he dared to send someone to infiltrate my residence and kill my personal guard commander. Tomorrow, he'll probably send someone to infiltrate my residence and kill my family. The assassination had been carried out right under his nose. This caused Dongbu Shuaying's heart to palpitate. Clearly, in the eyes of those overlord-level existences, even if they gave Dongbu Shuaying some face, they could still fall out with him at any moment. After all, even though his master was the Blood Blade, God Emperor would not lower himself to act just because his disciple suffered a setback. This was impossible. Among the Almighties, there were very, very few who truly protected their own. In the entire Bloodshed God Palace territory, there were only 2 people who were extremely protective of their people, Forefather Fierce Tyrant and Monarch Mother Whirlpool. When other Almighties nurtured their disciples, they allowed their disciples to fight and kill outside. If they died, they could only blame themselves for not being as skilled as others. Only with enough tempering could true experts be nurtured. If they were forever sheltered, they would never be able to truly rise. I wouldn't dare. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, "My true body has already gone to meet the monarch and inform him of this matter so that he can make a decision." Oh. Dongbu Shuang frowned. His eyes were still filled with coldness. World deity Shintu's true body had indeed gone to meet the monarch. Monarch Sangyong's lofty figure sat on the throne, a row of huge bone spurs protruding from the back of his neck. His indifferent eyes looked down at the black-robed man kneeling before him. "Your clone couldn't escape. It seems that Dongbu Ying's combat power is truly formidable. His Majesty God Emperor is truly extravagant. Powerful existences have risked their lives to obtain this treasure, yet he casually gave it to a brat. Monarch, what should we do now?" World deity Shintu hurriedly asked. "First, confirm whether or not world deity Shang Yi has obtained the relic," Monarch Sangyong indifferently said. "As for the rest, I'll leave it to you. Remember, do not embarrass me." Monarch Sangyong understood that this subordinate of his wanted to protect his clone, so he spoke vaguely. "Yes," world deity Shintu respectfully replied. High up in the sky above the supervisor envoy's residence, under the watchful gazes of a large number of his personal guards, the various deities of the Xia people, Jingqiu, Dongbuyu, Dongbu Qingyao, and the others, the black-robed world deity Shintu, who was shackled by countless white chains, was extremely nervous. At the same time, he followed the monarch's orders and checked the items left behind by world deity Shang Yi. Since world deity Shang Yi was already dead, those items could be easily checked. This is. Upon checking, the black-robed man discovered a wooden box within world deity Shang Yi's storage treasure. Inside the wooden box was a black sphere. The black sphere was covered with complicated bumpy patterns. This black sphere stunned world deity Shintu for a moment. This was because he had long since seen the painting of this black sphere. Monarch Sangyong had shown it to them before. He had ordered them to chase after the fleeing world deities and search for the black sphere among the items left behind by them. The moment they found it, they were to immediately bring it back. It's actually. The relic is actually with world deity Shang Yi. The black-robed man was both excited and nervous. He was excited because, with the relic, he could make any promise he wanted. He believed that Monarch Sangyong would not blame him. However, what made him nervous was that he was afraid that Dongbu Shuang would kill him. If Dongbu Shuang were to kill his avatar, not only would he lose his avatar, he would also lose the relic. As a capable subordinate of the monarch, he was very clear on how much the monarch had paid for the relic. If the relic were to fall into Dongbu Shuang's hands, it would be too difficult to get it back. Dongbu Shuang was not as easy to deal with as world deity Shang Yi was. Your Highness, Your Highness. World deity Shintu looked at Dongbu Shuang and squeezed out a smile. I've already reported this matter to the monarch, and he reprimanded me, saying that I didn't do it cleanly enough. Originally, the monarch had already made preparations. He knew that Your Highness would not agree to it, but the monarch still wanted to kill Shang Yi. Thus, he took the risk and sent me over to secretly deal with Shang Yi. Afterwards, he sent an envoy to discuss this matter. After all, Your Highness has a boundless future ahead of you. How could the monarch be willing to form a grudge with Your Highness? It's just that I didn't expect Your Highness to be so powerful. Although I specialize in concealment, assassination, and escaping, I wasn't able to escape in the end. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, Our monarch heard that Your Highness is searching for demon bone ash, and he is willing to offer you 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Dongbu Shuang was shocked. No matter how angry he was previously, he was now somewhat shocked. 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. After he became the supervisor, he had sent Shi Wei to search for demon bone ash. Even after 30,000 years, he had only managed to buy 1.5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Demon bone ash was extremely precious and rare. Your monarch is able to take out 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Dongbu Shuang frowned. He can. The monarch said it himself, world deity Shintu hurriedly said. He was lying through his teeth. He didn't know whether the monarch had demon bone ash or not. All he knew was that Dongbu Shuang had been searching for demon bone ash for a long time. There were indeed some powers that gave Dongbu Shuang face and sold him some demon bone ash. As long as he could stall for time. As long as he could protect the ruins and deliver the treasure to the monarch, his mission would be a success. 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Dongbu Shuang frowned. I heard from Bai Li Shang that a large number of world deities escaped from the ruins. Do you mean to compensate with 5 kilograms of demon bone ash for every world deity you kill? Can your monarch even afford it? Stage 4 world deities were indeed much wealthier, but 5 kilograms of demon bone ash was worth more than 500 million deity crystals. Monarch Tsang Yong was also considered young, unlike Monarch Mo Shua, who had lived for a very long time. How much wealth could he possibly have? How could he compensate so much just to kill a stage 2 world deity? Isn't it because of your highness? I only need to compensate you, world deity Shintu said. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. World deity Shintu, I don't believe you. So, I'll have to ask you to die. Boom! 9 Dongbu Shuang immediately appeared in the surroundings, each of them wielding a spear. For a moment, a world-destroying might surrounded world deity Shintu and attacked him simultaneously with the spear technique, destruction. For a moment, the surroundings were plunged into darkness. World deity Shintu revealed a look of terror. His body immediately turned into countless shadowy streams of air as he tried his best to escape. At the same time, his voice reverberated, I'm telling the truth. I don't believe you. Firstly, if Monarch Tsang Yong was this sincere, then the emissary would not have been so arrogant when he came to negotiate. Secondly, I don't think that Monarch Tsang Yong is that afraid of me. In order to resolve my anger, he's willing to give me 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Thirdly, all of this was said by you and not by Monarch Tsang Yong himself. I think that you're trying to stall for time in order to preserve your life. Fourthly, and the most important point. You killed the commander of my personal guard. Right now, my personal guard is watching, and even the countless deities of Eastern Region City are watching. If I let you go, how can I, Dongbu Shuang, convince the masses? Dongbu Shuang said coldly. Rumble, the area surrounded by world deity Shintu collapsed into darkness. The shadowy streams of air scattered in all directions, but they were destroyed time and time again. It was extremely difficult to kill someone who cultivated the boundless deity heart. However, the difference in strength was just too great. World deity Shintu was also heavily injured time and time again, causing his energy consumption to become more and more severe. My monarch will definitely send someone to apologize. No, my monarch has said that he will come personally. World deity Shintu's voice reverberated throughout the area of darkness. I'll first kill this clone of yours. If your monarch is sincere, then send an emissary to apologize, Dongbu Shuang said. Shuang said. As soon as he finished speaking, world deity Shintu's remnant figure could no longer hold on any longer. Following the destruction of the final shadow stream, this avatar of world deity Shintu was finally exterminated. With a wave of his hand, Dongbu Shuang collected all the treasures left behind by world deity Shintu's day. He then took a step forward and traversed through space to the side of his wife and children. He felt that world deity Shintu's credibility was too low. Moreover, Monarch Tsang Yong had given him a huge slap in the face. How could he let Shintu off just like that? Monarch Tsang Yong sat on his throne and looked down at the black-robed figure. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, Monarch, I tried everything I could to beg for mercy and made many promises. However, Dongbu Shuang still acted and destroyed my clone. Made many promises. Tried everything you could to beg for mercy. Monarch Tsang Yong indifferently said, I already told you not to embarrass me. No, no, no. World deity Shintu hurriedly said, monarch, you asked me to investigate the treasures left behind by world deity Shang-Yi. I discovered that the black sphere was exactly the same as the object in the painting scroll you showed us. What? Monarch Sang-Yong abruptly stood up. A terrifying grayish-white aura surged out, and Monarch Sang-Yong's eyes were filled with a terrifying killing intent. Where's the relic? He had desired it for a very long time. For the sake of this relic, he was willing to give up everything else, including his blood-refined deity warrior and even his empire. This was also the reason why he had to use karma to investigate the whereabouts of so many world deities who had escaped. My clone has been killed, and the relic has fallen into Dongbush Shui Ying's hands, world deity Shintu said. Chapter 522. The towering monarch Sang-Yong stood there, causing the world around him to tremble. He looked down at world deity Shintu and bellowed, "Scram! Yes, this subordinate will take his leave." World deity Shintu felt his heart palpitate as he hurriedly took his leave. Normally, he was the monarch's right-hand man, and the monarch would normally place great importance on him. Yet, at this moment, he had actually said the word "scram." Clearly, monarch Sang-Yong was extremely furious. World deity Shintu did not find this strange in the slightest, as he was very clear on how much the monarch had paid for this. The relic has landed in the hands of Dongbush Shuang, and Dongbush Shuang probably won't be able to hold on to it for long. Monarch Sang-Yong will definitely go all out. What empire, subordinates, authority? All of these were external things. For the sake of power, everything could be abandoned. Within the gloomy space, Monarch Sang-Yong slowly sat down on his throne and let out a low chuckle. Ha ha ha, although there have been some twists and turns and troubles, at the very least, I've found the relic. I originally thought that this relic didn't exist. Monarch Sang-Yong's eyes were filled with excitement and anticipation. I only chased after those world deities who escaped because I was unwilling to give up. Who would have thought that world deity Shang-Yi would actually be able to take away the relic? Those fools. How could they possibly understand how precious this relic is? Even if it was left with them, they wouldn't be able to use it. If I were to obtain this relic, I, Sang-Yong, would become much stronger. I would be ranked at the very top amongst stage 4 world deities, and I might even be able to fight against powerful existences. Monarch Sang-Yong's eyes were filled with excitement. Fighting above one's level was extremely difficult. Stage 4 world deities would begin to comprehend other things by analogy and grasp many other grade 1 deity hearts. As a result, the gap between them and powerful existences was relatively small. This gave them hope of fighting against powerful existences. However, even though each and every one of them had tyrannical strength and were said to be close to powerful existences, even so, close was still somewhat lacking. Only those who had fought against powerful existences without being defeated. Only then could they be considered as truly powerful existences. Among stage 4 world deities, there would only be 1 in 10 of them. An old man like Monarch Mo Shui who had lived for a very long time had done it before. As for the other outstanding overlords, even though big senior brother Huiming had a great reputation and was ranked in the front amongst the stage 4 world deities, he was only known as almost comparable to an almighty or almost comparable to an almighty. This was because big senior brother Huiming did not have the battle record of fighting against an almighty without being defeated. After all, almighties had lived for a long time and were not to be trifled with. Most of the peak stage 4 world deities could only flee for their lives in front of the almighties. It was very, very difficult to not be at a disadvantage. As long as I obtain this treasure, my strength will increase greatly. Secondly, I can also carefully comprehend it, and the possibility of transcending from the river of time will increase. Moreover, after my strength increases greatly, I can also rely on this to explore even more dangerous places. Monarch Sang-Yong thought to himself, this relic treasure is my greatest opportunity. We must get it. I'll kill whoever dares to stop me. Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with coldness. Transcending, this was something every stage 4 world deity desired. They had all lived for billions of years and were willing to do anything for the sake of transcending. Dongbo Shuang. Monarch Songyong sneered. Although he's the personal disciple of God Emperor would never interfere in a normal fight. The temperament of Blood Blade was well known in the deity world and abyss. Even if I kill this body of Dongbo Shuang, he's still a lord of a material world, and his true body is still in the material world. In truth, he wouldn't truly die. God Emperor would have even less reason to act, Monarch Songyong thought to himself. However, there's no need to be too ruthless. This Dongbo Shuang will also become an overlord in the future. This time, I'll give him some face and not kill him. I'll directly capture him, seal his true deity heart, and seize his treasures. As for the other treasures, I'll just take the relic away. Monarch Songyong had already made up his mind. As long as he wasn't too ruthless, there was still room for negotiation in the future. If he were to kill Dongbo Shuaying's avatar this time, the enmity between them would probably grow. I can be considered benevolent. If he insists on fighting, do you think I'll be afraid of him after I obtain the relic? Monarch Songyong sneered. At that time, he was confident that he could surpass realms to fight powerful existences. Prepare. I need to act quickly. I also need to set up an array to seal off a radius of 1 trillion kilometers. Even if the Calm Sea Prefecture Master comes to rescue me, I should be able to delay him for a bit. Monarch Songyong calculated. In truth, he was confident that he could deal with Dongbo Shuang in a single move. However, since the relic was involved, he could not be too careful. After all, he could not afford to lose. The relic had to be snatched back at all costs. Within the Calm Sea Prefecture, within the Supervisor Envoy's residence in East Region City. Your Highness. A group of subordinates rushed over. They were the commanders of Dongbo Shuaying's personal guard, as well as many Stage 2 world deities. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. I was a step too slow. Commander Bai Li was assassinated by world deity Shen Tu, but his avatar was also destroyed by me. World deity Shen Tu. The commanders and guests were all inwardly shocked. That was a Stage 3 world deity who specialized in assassination and hiding, yet he had been killed by His Highness just like that? Not even he had been able to escape. Alright, you can all leave, Dongbo Shuang said. He was not in a good mood. Although he had killed one of the enemy's avatars, the commander of his personal guards was truly dead. Yes. Everyone quickly left. Even Dongbo Yu, Dongbo Qingyao, and Qingyao were given a signal by his mother, Jing Qiu. Only Jing Qiu accompanied Dongbo Shuang. Snow Eagle, Monarch Songyong actually sent his subordinate into our residence to kill the commander of your personal guard. Is his killing intent that heavy? There's no need to think too much about it. There's nothing we can do to Monarch Songyong, Dongbo Shuang said. This time, I killed one of his subordinates to vent my anger. In the end, I'm the one who suffered a loss. After all, my subordinate commander was truly killed. I reckon that this matter will end here. Yes. Jing Qiu nodded. Based on their predictions, Bai Li Shang was dead, while world deity Shen Tu had only lost a clone. There should not be any follow-up to this matter. Their predictions were not wrong. However, they did not expect that after world deity Shen Tu's clone died, an extremely important treasure would fall into Dongbo Shuaying's hands. It was destined that Monarch Songyong would not let this matter rest. The two of them chatted as they walked. At the same time, Dongbo Shuang split his attention to inspect the treasure he had obtained after killing world deity Shen Tuesday. Originally, he had only done so casually. After all, with the treasures he had inherited from Crimson Rock Mountain, the treasures of a Stage 3 world deity were nothing to him. But, what's this? Dongbo Shuang immediately discovered a black sphere placed within a wooden box. The black sphere was covered with countless uneven veined patterns. Just those incomparably mysterious veined patterns alone gave Dongbu Shuang the feeling that he was peering into the vast starry sky. He instantly understood that this was a mysterious treasure. After informing his wife, he immediately went into seclusion and began his investigation. In an underground hall, Dongbu Shuang placed the wooden box on the ground in front of him and opened it, revealing the black sphere. It must be some sort of mysterious treasure. But what use does it have? Dongbu Shuang was puzzled. Even with his experience, he could not immediately tell what the black sphere was used for. In the void outside Eastern Region City, a Starfield flying ship flew out. Standing on the ship was a cold-looking, bald man with bone spikes protruding from the back of his neck. He looked at the distant Eastern Region City, and an invisible pressure began to spread out. In an instant, the entire Eastern Region City had fallen into his world deity domain. "My treasure, I'm coming." Monarch Songyong's eyes were filled with fanaticism. He had waited far too long for this day. Chapter 523. Monarch Songyong's gaze fell on the spatial transfer array outside Eastern Region City. Immediately, countless streams of gray energy appeared out of thin air, wrapping around the soldiers responsible for guarding the transfer array. The soldiers were all terrified, but they were unable to struggle at all. At the same time, the gray energy seeped into the transmission array, digging out a part of the complex array foundation. The teleportation formation has been crippled for the time being. With a single step, Monarch Songyong traversed a great distance and arrived in the sky above Eastern Region City. East Region City was surrounded by a winding river that was 1,000,000,000 kilometers long, like a ribbon protecting the city. Monarch Songyong overlooked everything that was happening. At the same time, countless streams of gray qi appeared in all directions outside the massive East Region City, vaguely forming an incomparably large and complex spirit formation. At the same time, Monarch Songyong threw out 2 formation plates, which pierced through space and appeared in 2 different directions within the East Region City, becoming the eye of the enormous spirit formation. The power of the formation increased exponentially. Even if the Calm Sea Prefecture Master comes, the array should be able to hold him off for a while. Monarch Songyong was exceptionally cautious. He had even prepared the array plate beforehand. As a Stage 4 world deity, Monarch Songyong's world deity domain was incomparably vast, even larger than the entire East Region City. The countless gods in the Eastern Region City did not notice at all. Even if the guards of the teleportation formation were trapped and their true deity hearts were sealed, they could not report it at all. Therefore, even though the vast starry sky outside East Region City had formed a terrifying sealing formation, everything within East Region City remained normal. Supervisor Residence. Jing Qiu, who was dressed in a deep blue robe, was at the edge of a large lake in the mansion, boiling fruit wine. The aroma of fruit wine wafted from the mouth of the wine pot. In fact, many of the personal guards and attendants within the mansion were muttering to themselves. Their "Madam" rarely entered closed-door cultivation. "Madam, isn't she the slightest bit interested in becoming a world deity? The lifespan of a deity is too short, they can't accompany your highness for too long." Many subordinates and attendants muttered to themselves, but no one dared to say it out loud. Dongbu Shuang did mention that Jing Qiu was able to bluff her way out of it. She said that her main body was cultivating diligently in her hometown, and this clone of hers was there to observe the heavens and earth. Dongbu Shuang also realized that his wife wasn't lying. Her main body did frequently accelerate time to cultivate. But why was the clone so lazy? Was being so relaxed really beneficial to cultivation? Based on what Dongbu Shuang knew, most cultivators would encounter a bottleneck, and no matter how hard they cultivated, it would be futile. That was the reason why they would look into the world and search for an opportunity to break through. Jing Qiu was only at the first god tier. She was still far from the bottleneck. Jing Qiu suddenly raised her head and looked towards the distant sky. A trace of coldness appeared in her gentle eyes. Monarch Sangyong. He was here, and he was actually setting up a spirit formation. Snow Eagle only killed one of his clones, and it can't be considered a real kill, but he still doesn't let it go. Monarch Sangyong had set up a vast sealing formation around Eastern Region City. Any outsider would have to break through the obstruction of the sealing formation before they could enter Eastern Region City. Dongbo Shuang. After finishing his preparations, Monarch Sangyong prepared to take action. Sangyong. A cold voice sounded. Monarch Sangyong was startled. He saw a vast stream of white light shoot up into the sky from Eastern Region City, flying high into the sky to confront him from afar. It was a silver-haired, white-robed woman wearing a silver mask. Her long silver hair fluttered in the wind, reaching all the way down to her heels. Her entire body was emitting an incomparably astonishing chill. Monarch Sangyong looked at the masked, white-robed woman in confusion. Deity realm? How can she only be a deity? Just the terrifying speed at which she had flown up had already made him feel somewhat threatened. She should be a stage 4 world deity. How could she be a deity? But the aura of the white-robed woman in front of him was indeed only at the deity realm. Who are you? Monarch Sangyong frowned. He should have recognized all of the stage 4 world deities of the deity world, but he was unable to recognize her. Sangyong, you sent your subordinate to assassinate the commander of Dongbu Shui Ying's personal guard. What's wrong? Your subordinate only lost one of his clones, yet you've come personally. The silver-haired, white-robed woman stood high up in the sky. At the same time, the vast void around her, as well as the entire area within 100 billion kilometers of Eastern Region City, began to condense into a cold that could be seen with the naked eye. Cold, cold, bone-chilling cold. Even Monarch Sangyong felt a chill drilling into his body. Everything within 100 billion kilometers was frozen solid. The silver-haired, white-robed woman looked at Monarch Sangyong as if she was the ruler of everything. I advise you to leave. You think you can persuade me to leave? This clone of yours is actually only at the deity realm and hasn't even reached the world deity realm. You think you can stop me? Monarch Sangyong's body swayed and suddenly expanded. His body instantly became towering. Although he could not compare to Eastern Region City, he was still much larger than the capital cities of most starfields. Bone spurs protruded from his body, emitting a savage aura. Scram! Monarch Sangyong waved his hand and grabbed at the woman, his 5 fingers curled up. The silver-haired, white-robed woman stood in the distance, watching the gigantic hand that blotted out the sun come grabbing at her. In the blink of an eye, strands of ice-cold sword light flew out from her body. Some of these sword lights were abnormally ferocious, while others were gentle and coiled around her. Countless ice-cold sword lights instantly met the gigantic hand. Hong long long. The collision was accompanied by a deafening boom. The towering monarch Sangyong staggered a step back, and a large number of sword lights were similarly shattered. So it's your highness. I heard that you're already dead, but who would have thought that not only are you still alive, you've even broken through from stage 3 to stage 4. You're truly courageous to actually dare to show yourself. Monarch Sangyong fiercely pulled out 2 of the bone spurs on his back and madly charged forward. You're just a newly promoted stage 4 world deity, and you don't even have a blood-refined deity warrior or a world deity domain, yet you still want to stop me? Hong long long. For the sake of obtaining the relic, Monarch Sangyong did not hold back at all. For a moment, the heavens shook and the earth cracked. Stopping you isn't a problem at all. Furthermore, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master will be here soon, the silver-haired woman coldly said. It's useless even if he comes. As for you, you won't be able to stop me. Monarch Sangyong was incomparably ruthless. There was a sealing array outside, so it would not be that easy to barge in. In the supervisor envoy's residence, in an underground hall. Rewinding time back to the time when Dongbu Shuang was examining the black sphere. What's this treasure used for? Dongbu Shuang even sent his consciousness into the black sphere to carefully examine it. He pondered over it, but for a moment, he was unable to make sense of it. However, when he infused his world deity energy into the black sphere, immediately, the uneven patterns on the black sphere began to emit light. Countless patterns began to shine, illuminating the surrounding void. An incomparably profound and complex three-dimensional diagram was formed. This is. Looking at this profound three-dimensional diagram, Dongbu Shuang was shocked. This was no longer just a simple examination of the patterns. Seeing the three-dimensional diagram reflected in the air with his own eyes left him somewhat dazed. It was too complex, too profound, and the various laws of profound mysteries within it were simply inconceivable. As a cultivator, Dongbu Shuang could not help but immerse himself in it. After immersing himself in it, he began to feel and comprehend it. It was only natural. Boom. A mysterious spherical illusion appeared behind Dongbu Shuang's back. This spherical illusion seemed to be very big, but also very small at the same time. The concept of spacetime was unable to describe it. It was the origin of all laws in the world, and it was also the end of all laws. Dongbu Shuang opened his eyes, and the spherical illusion of the extremity point appeared behind him. I didn't understand the secret of this treasure, but it touched me, allowing me to break through and grasp the extremity deity heart. A smile appeared on Dongbu Shuang's face. I've finally become a stage 3 world deity. It's even faster than I expected. Chapter 524. Within Dongbu Shuang's sea of consciousness, the little person became even more tender, as though he was a real person. His pair of eyes brought about an invisible pressure. After reaching stage 3, his true deity heart became even more condensed and powerful, and the surrounding illusory world became even clearer. Evolve. Hong Long Long, within his inner world, countless deity crystals were being absorbed and converted into energy to fuel the evolution of his inner world. The originally vast world of 1 billion kilometers was now frantically expanding in all directions. For a moment, the earth within the inner world rumbled, and the earth became deeper and deeper. The sky became higher and higher, and the land was also rapidly expanding, eroding the ocean. But the ocean was similarly expanding, becoming bigger and bigger. Even some islands began to appear within the ocean, and at the center of the ocean, a continent began to appear. The world of 1 billion kilometers was rapidly expanding to 10 billion kilometers. The extremity deity heart lies in the origin, the beginning, the end, and the one. After he had comprehended the laws of the world and fused them with the extremity deity heart, Dongbu Shuang's inner world's operating laws became more complete, and the range of his ability also became larger. Originally, within the inner world, although all living things could grow, it was chaotic and disorderly. Some grew very quickly, and some withered very quickly as well. Some crazily invaded the area of growth. It was very chaotic. But now, there was an invisible hand controlling the entire inner world. The extremity deity heart was the beginning and end of all living things. It was the final core, one, and it faintly controlled the laws of all living things. For a moment, the entire inner world underwent a huge change, and everything became orderly. All sorts of plants, flowers, and trees harmonized with one another, and the grasslands, deserts, and other areas all had formless restrictions. The entire world was one. It's getting more and more perfect. In the sky above the world of 10 billion kilometers, a huge face appeared, overlooking this beautiful world. Glaciers, grasslands, plains, deserts, mountains, all living things were growing, and withering, everything was so beautiful. I'm getting closer to the real world. Dongbu Shuang understood that it was difficult to draw the heart, and he was able to evolve the inner world closer to the real world. But to truly transform it into a real world, to give birth to living things, to allow humans to grow and die of old age, to allow souls to reincarnate, this was too difficult. This was also the reason why it was so difficult for stage 4 world deities to transcend and become powerful existences. After becoming a powerful existence, the inner world would naturally evolve into a real world, possessing the perfect laws of the world. Dongbu Shuang opened his eyes and waved his hand. 38 golden beads and 2 dark golden bones appeared on the ground in front of him. This dark golden bone only had the appearance of a bone on the surface. In fact, it was formed naturally after a long period of time in a special environment. It was the crystallization of nature, not the bones of a corpse. Just these 2 demon bones ash had taken Dongbu Shuang over 30,000 years of hard work to gather. It was only because he was on good terms with Dongbu Shuang that he was able to sell them to him. These 2 demon bones ash only weighed a little more than 1.5 gene. Suck. Dongbu Shuang's nostrils immediately inhaled a mixture of golden light from the golden bead and demon bone ash. One was the pure golden light from the golden bead, and the other was the dark gray light from demon bone ash. They were quickly absorbed into his inner world and started to transform. Because his true body in the Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world had 100-fold time acceleration, he naturally became a stage 3 world deity. He had already begun to research the 3rd volume of the Luminous Sun Absolute Art. The first revolution of the 3rd volume of the Luminous Sun was too simple. After all, Dongbu Shuang had already mastered the 4th revolution of the 2nd volume. Back in the Crimson Rock Mountain, his true body had instantly comprehended it. The 2nd revolution of the 3rd volume was slightly more profound. However, Dongbu Shuang had been pondering over the spear technique destruction for many years. He had long since gained experience in fusing worlds, chaos holes, and extremities. Thus, he only needed a day to comprehend it. Although it was said to be a day, because of the 100-fold time acceleration, only a few moments had passed in the outside world. Above the inner world, the white clouds were condensed from countless luminous sun force. Clearly, the luminous sun force had evolved by another level. This 3rd revolution. As Dongbu Shuang pondered, his true body in the Crimson Rock Mountain was also pondering. The 3rd revolution of the 3rd volume was clearly much more complex and profound. For a moment, Dongbu Shuang was filled with all sorts of questions. It would probably take him 10,000 years or even longer to ponder over it. After all, he had just stepped into the stage 3 world deity, unlike when he first cultivated the luminous sun. In reality, he had already cultivated for 100,000 years under the time acceleration. Although his main focus was on researching the destruction of spear techniques, he still had a deep foundation. After obtaining the Luminous Sun Absolute Art, he was just a step away from mastering the 2nd volume of the 3rd revolution. After becoming a supervisor, he reached the 3rd revolution not long after. Only after 20,000 years in the real world did he finally step into the 4th revolution. Hong long long, a violent shockwave transmitted over from afar. By the time it reached the supervisor's residence, it was already very weak. However, Dongbu Shuang could still sense it. What's going on? Shuang, who had been puzzled over his cultivation of the luminous sun, suddenly snapped out of his daze. With a wave of his hand, he collected the golden fiend crystal, demon bone ash, and the mysterious black sphere. He had just broken through, so he did not have the time to continue researching the black sphere. At this moment, countless deities in the entire eastern region city had noticed the great battle taking place in the sky. Monarch Yong had been secretly laying down a formation and had sent his own world deity domain down. Jing Qiu, who was also a stage 4 world deity and was in the midst of comprehending the world, instantly noticed that Dongbu Shuang had been cultivating the luminous sun absolute art in seclusion and had not paid any attention to the outside world. What's going on? Wow! Who's fighting? A commotion broke out in the supervisor's residence and the distant eastern Blaze army camp. Many world deities raised their heads to look at the sky. In fact, there were even more deities who were gasping in surprise. Their eyesight was extremely astonishing, and they could clearly see the battle taking place. Too powerful. Dongbo Dongbua, and Qin Yao also raised their heads in surprise. There were also many servants and subordinates around them. Where's mother? Where's mother? Dongbo Yu and the others were also paying attention to their surroundings. She's probably watching the battle from somewhere else in the residence. Dongbua and Qin Yao also raised their heads in excitement. South. A figure suddenly appeared. It was none other than Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang raised his head to look at the sky and saw countless amounts of frost condensing, enveloping the entire sky above Eastern Region City. At the center of the frost was a silver-haired, white-robed woman. She wore a mask, and countless sword lights surged around her, forming all sorts of arrays over and over again as she attacked the savage giant. Monarch Sangyong was currently 5 billion kilometers tall and towering. Everyone in Eastern Region City could clearly see his enormous figure. Monarch Sangyong held a bone spear in each of his hands. Seemingly capable of ripping apart the world, he disregarded the obstruction of the frost and attacked again and again. In the distance, the silver-haired, white-robed woman quickly dodged while controlling the countless sword lights to defend herself. You can't block it. Since you insist on doing so, then die. Monarch Sangyong was incomparably savage. You? The silver-haired, white-robed woman's cold voice resounded throughout the world. Dongbo Shuang frowned. Monarch Sangyong. Who was that silver-haired, white-robed woman? Why didn't I have any information about her in my memories? Sangyong. Dongbo Shuang bellowed. Boom. In an instant, he shot into the sky, piercing through the void and arriving near the distant battlefield. That was because the battlefield was within the range of the arrays, and void piercing was impossible. Father. Your Highness, be careful. Dongbo Yu, Shi Wei, Goodbye, He Fei Yun, and the others all felt their hearts tighten. They all recognized that this was Monarch Sangyong. His opponent was most likely a stage 4 world deity. General Mo of the Eastern Blaze Army was currently relying on the arrays of Eastern Region City to protect himself from the shockwaves of the terrifying battle. Dongbo Shuang, who was only a stage 2 world deity, had already charged over. Shi Wei, He Fei Yun, and the others were all focused on the battle above. Only when Dongbo Shuang charged out did they realize that they had not been able to observe the battle in detail. Nor did they realize that Dongbo Shuang was already a stage 3 world deity. Monarch Sangyong and the silver-haired, white-robed woman exchanged blows for less than a breath's worth of time before they saw a figure piercing through the void. It was none other than the spear-wielding black-robed youth. Dongbo Shuang. You actually dare to come? Monarch Sangyong was overjoyed, but then his expression changed. He could tell with a single glance. A stage 3 world deity. Bang! The area around Dongbo Shuang immediately began to condense the other 9 world bodies. Suppress. Monarch Sangyong's lips curled into a sneer. His terrifying world deity domain suppressed everything, including the area around Dongbo Shuang. Every strand of world energy was suppressed by the laws, making it impossible for Dongbo Shuang to use it. Naturally, he was unable to condense a world body. The world body required world energy to form. If he could not use world energy, then this move would be useless. Dongbo Shuang, when it comes to world control, you are no match for me. Monarch Sangyong sneered. As expected of a stage 4 world deity, Dongbo Shuang was secretly apprehensive. Stage 4 world deities were able to comprehend and grasp many grade 1 deity hearts. Clearly, Monarch Sangyong had also grasped a world deity heart, and his realm was even more profound. Eat my spear first. The fiery red scarlet cloud spear in Dongbo Shuaying's hand instantly streaked across the sky. The spear rapidly expanded, traversing hundreds of millions of kilometers as it pierced towards Monarch Sangyong with unparalleled might. Monarch Sang-yong was originally filled with disdain, but the moment the spear pierced out, his expression abruptly changed. The might of the spear was already at the level of a stage 4 world deity. Even so, he's still not my opponent. Monarch Sang-yong brandished the bone spear in his hand and faced the attack head-on. The silver-haired, white-robed masked woman was watching this scene unfold from afar. Dongbo Shuang had also noticed her. Who is she? She seems to be a deity, thought Dongbo Shuang. Dongbo Shuang thought. In order to conceal her identity, Yu Jingqiu had completely retracted her aura. She was only using the sword light generated by her secret technique to fight. She had deliberately retracted her aura. Be it her fighting style, her aura, her clothes, her hair, or even her figure, everything had changed. Naturally, Dongbo Shuang was unable to recognize her at first glance. This was the wife who had shared his bed with him. Chapter 525. The huge bone spear clashed with the scarlet cloud spear, and Dongbo Shuang could only feel layers upon layers of energy continuously corroding his spear, causing him to stagger back. An absolute art is this powerful? A newly ascended stage 3 world deity like you can actually fight someone of a higher realm? Monarch Sang-yong was furious. In the past, he had never placed stage 3 world deities in his eyes. But while Dongbo Shuang was inferior to him, the gap between them was no longer that great. Careful! A voice transmitted into Dongbo Shuang's ears. Dongbo Shuang, although Monarch Sang-yong's attacks seem tyrannical, they are actually sinister. They specialize in infiltration, corrosion, decay, and annihilation. The distant silver-haired, white-robed woman was also controlling countless sword lights to help attack Monarch Sang-yong. Sang-yong, what have you come to my eastern region city for? Dongbo Shuang waved his hand and swept out with his spear. The spear spanned over 100 million kilometers, displaying its ferocious might. You killed my subordinate, and now you want to pretend that nothing happened? Monarch Sang-yong charged forward, using the bone spear in his hands to block yet another spear strike. Who are you trying to fool? Your subordinate is just a clone, yet you're willing to risk your life like this? Shuang sneered. He could feel the huge weakness in his comprehension of the laws and profound mysteries. Even though the luminous sun force was strong in terms of strength and speed, it was still not enough. Although his luminous sun force was extremely powerful in terms of speed and strength, he was only at the second transition. His spear technique suddenly changed, and he used his killer move. Bang! The spear stabbed out, causing everything around it to collapse and collapse. When it was compressed to the limit, it burst forth with a terrifying penetrative power. This move? Monarch Sang-yong was startled. The bone spear in his hands transformed into a circle, forming circular ripples. The spear tip collided with the circular ripples. Monarch Sang-yong's expression began to change. Again. Dongbo Shuang was incomparably valiant, his spear fiercely attacking time and time again. He didn't use any techniques like the world prison, and he didn't even get close. This was because the battle had happened too quickly, and he didn't have the time to think about other secret skills. For example, he did not cultivate the time immemorial body. The only spear art he was proficient in was destruction. This was because this move relied on the fusion of the world, chaos, and extremity deity hearts. Now that Dongbo Shuang had used this move a few times, his spear art was getting more and more proficient. At the side, there were also countless sword gleams that surrounded and attacked crazily. Their might was not inferior to that of Dongbo Shuang. With the two of them working together, Monarch Sang-yong was unable to deal with them for a while. Damn it! Why is this Dongbo Shuang so strong? How am I supposed to capture him when he's so strong? Forget about capturing him, we can't even kill him. Monarch Sang-yong glanced at the silver-haired, white-robed woman in the distance. Her Highness, the Empyrean Maiden, is still in the deity realm. She doesn't even have a world deity domain, and she can only rely on her secret techniques to fight with me. Dongbua Shuang is also a newly advanced third celestial layer. With his absolute art and this spear technique, both of them are slightly weaker than me. If I were to fight them one-on-one, I reckon that I might stand a chance if I spend more time on them. But now that the two of them are working together, they won't be able to win even if they fight for 2 hours. Where did Her Highness Empyrean Fairy come from? And it's such a coincidence that he's in Eastern Region City? Monarch Song-yong muttered to himself. Suddenly, Monarch Song-yong's expression changed as he looked behind him. In the distant starry sky, a Starfield flying ship had appeared. At the prow of the Starfield flying ship was an amiable-looking old man. However, even from a distance, this old man gave off a terrifying aura that seemed to engulf the boundless starry sky. There was even a faint image of a gigantic dragon head in the vast starry sky. Calm Sea Prefecture Master. Monarch Song-yong's heart trembled. Although he had great potential, he was still a member of the younger generation. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master had lived for an extremely long time. His lifespan was even comparable to Monarch Mo Shue's. The fact that he had lived for so long without going crazy or reincarnating was a testament to his strength. From this, one could see his strength. It was publicly acknowledged that his strength was close to that of a powerful existence. The only thing he lacked in comparison to Monarch Mo Shue was the fact that he had yet to truly fight against a powerful existence without losing. Regardless, he was not someone Monarch Song-yong could defeat. With Her Highness Empyrean Fairy helping Dongbua Shuang, even without the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, I have no hope of winning. Let's go. Monarch Song-yong turned around and left without any hesitation. He held the initiative in the first place, and coupled with the fact that the surrounding arrays were under his control, he left without any hesitation. Riding a Starfield flying ship, he collected the array plate before entering the spacetime tunnel and leaving. Your Highness Dongbua, I, Song-yong, will return in a few days to offer my apologies. This old dragon is very difficult to deal with, so I'll be taking my leave first. Monarch Song-yong's voice rang out in Dongbua Shuang's mind. Dongbua Shuang was startled. Offer my apologies? He was at a disadvantage in front of Monarch Song-yong, yet he still wanted to apologize. World deity Shintu was killed by me, and yet he personally came to kill me just because of my subordinate's clone. Now that he can't win, he's even apologizing. Could it be that he has some sort of request? Dongbua Shuang could not help but think of the mysterious black sphere he had obtained. I'll just have to deal with his moves when the time comes. As long as he could consolidate his strength a little more, he would not need to fear Song-yong. Dongbua. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master flew over with a smile. Hua. The distant silver-haired, white-robed woman instantly descended toward the Eastern Region City, disappearing without a trace. Dongbua Shuang glanced at her, then went to greet the Calm Sea Prefecture Master. Prefecture Master. You've actually become a Stage 3 world deity. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master put away his Starfield flying ship and exclaimed in surprise, now that I think about it, you haven't even cultivated for 40,000 years. 39,000 years, Dongbua Shuang replied. Time acceleration was not counted in his calculations. Time acceleration was mainly used to comprehend secret techniques and secret skills. To truly comprehend the world, one had to do so under the normal flow of time. Truly formidable. In the entire history of the deity world and Dark Abyss, the fastest person to become a Stage 3 world deity was Manor Lord Feishue, yet he took 53,000 years. The Calm Sea Prefecture Master sighed. You, on the other hand, only took 39,000 years. Impressive, impressive. Anyone who could create a new record was definitely not ordinary. Dongbua Shuang hurriedly said, I had some luck. First of all, world, chaos whole, and extremity were the three true meanings he had cultivated while he was still a transcendent. Back then, he had already cultivated the true meaning of mirage, star, and extreme piercing. As such, it was relatively easy for him to cultivate all three. He was clearly much weaker in the aspect of spacetime. Most likely, it would take him a very, very long time to succeed. Another reason was that he had coincidentally obtained the black sphere. Otherwise, even though he was just a step away from breaking through the bottleneck, it would still be normal for him to be stuck for 20 to 30,000 years. The black sphere's array diagram was incomparably profound, and it had given him many inspirations, allowing him to break through the bottleneck and create a new record. Who can create a miracle without a bit of luck? The Calm Sea Prefecture Master sighed in admiration. In the deity world, there are records of people becoming Stage 1 world deities, Stage 2 world deities, and even Stage 4 world deities, becoming powerful existences. Anyone who creates a new record is an amazing person. Once this news spreads, Dongbua, your name will probably spread throughout the entire deity world and dark abyss. Dongbua Shuang and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master chatted for the time it took to brew a cup of tea. After that, the Calm Sea Prefecture Master left, though it was clear that he had become much closer to the Prefecture Master. Anyone who could create a new record was simply too astonishing in the history of the deity world. In the past, world deity records were set by Monarch Green, Monarch Extermination, Manor Lord Feishua, and Temporal Island Lord. Only Monarch Extermination had gone insane and died prematurely. The weakest among them was Manor Lord Feishua, who was also at the level of the three ancestors. Now that Manor Lord Feishua's record had been broken by Dongbua Shuang, everyone had to consider how far Dongbua Shuang would go in the future. This was also the reason why Monarch Zangyong had spoken softly to Dongbua Shuang. If Dongbua Shuang was the only one who was stronger, Monarch Zangyong could have asked for reinforcements to attack him once more. However, Dongbua Shuang had become a Stage 3 world deity and created a new record in the deity world and dark abyss. Monarch Zangyong was afraid that even if he asked for reinforcements, he would not be able to do so. Monarch Zangyong was also not willing to offend Dongbua Shuang too much. Phew. After parting ways with the prefecture master, Dongbua Shuang descended into the supervisor envoy's mansion. Disperse for now. Dongbua Shuang did not pay any attention to General Mo, who had come over to flatter him, nor did he pay any attention to his subordinates. He only gave them a few instructions before descending into his own mansion. Next to a vast lake within the supervisor envoy's mansion, Dongbua Shuang descended. He looked at a corridor not too far away, where Jing Qiu, dressed in dark blue robes, was walking towards him. With a smile on her face, she said, "Snow Eagle. Did you see the battle earlier?" Dongbua Shuang asked with a smile. Jing Qiu seemed to be very happy. The entire residence is talking about it now. Dongbua Shuang suddenly reached out and grabbed his wife's hand. Jing Qiu was taken aback. "Let's walk along the lakeside," Dongbua Shuang said. Jing Qiu nodded lightly. As the couple walked along the lakeside, Dongbua Shuang did not say a word. At this moment, his emotions were in a state of turmoil, and Jing Qiu could faintly sense it. Seeing a bird dive into the lake and pick up a fish with its beak, causing ripples to form on the surface of the lake, Dongbua Shuang turned to look at his wife. "Jing Qiu, that silver-haired girl is you, right?" Chapter 526. Jing Qiu's heart tightened as she stared at the black-robed youth in front of her. This was a secret she had been hiding all this time. She had too many misgivings, so she had never dared to speak of it. But this time, she had made her move. Even though she had been very cautious in restraining her aura and body shape, she had still been recognized. Jing Qiu had mentally prepared herself for this. After all, they were husband and wife. Outsiders might not be able to tell, but it was possible for her husband to. Jing Qiu nodded lightly, but she was still very nervous. She was afraid. Because she cared too much about her husband, she was afraid. reincarnated? Dongbu Shuang asked. Yes. Jing Qiu took a deep breath and looked at her husband. You despise me? Jing Qiu was so flustered that she did not dare to wait for Dongbu Shuaying's reply. She continued, I only awakened my memories when I became a deity. Previously, I was known as the mysterious Star Sword Lady, the eldest daughter of monarch Mo Shui. As such, when you met 7th Meiyu, I was able to tell at a glance that she was a woman. After all, she's my younger sister. Furthermore, my father, monarch Mo Shui, personally guided you. It was because he knew that you were his son-in-law. Jing Qiu carefully observed Dongbu Shuaying's expression. You two already acknowledged each other back then? Dongbu Shuang asked. We secretly acknowledged each other. Apart from me and my father, no one else knew, Jing Qiu replied. Dongbu Shuang was puzzled. No wonder. No wonder he felt that something was amiss. Even though he had been rather dazzling during the myriad flower feast, monarch Mo Shui, who could truly rival powerful existences, had actually guided him for 2 consecutive days. Moreover, he had taught him verbally and occasionally demonstrated. At that time, Dongbu Shuang had been overwhelmed by the favor. Only now did he realize that it was because of his wife, Jing Qiu. At that time, you even teased me and 7th Meiyu. Dongbu Shuang looked at Jing Qiu. Seeing this, Jing Qiu calmed down and said, I was only joking. I was very happy to see my younger sister, but I just couldn't acknowledge you. Snow Eagle, you don't dislike me, do you? The dignified mysterious Lady of Star Sword is loved by countless universe gods. I can't wait to be overjoyed. How could I despise her? Dongbu Shuang grinned. Jing Qiu heaved a sigh of relief. She grabbed onto Dongbu Shuaying's hand and said angrily, I'm so nervous, but you're still teasing me. She was indeed nervous. Star Sword Mysterious Daughter was the eldest daughter of monarch Mo Shui. Her background was extraordinary, and because of her father's relationship, she was extremely cold and arrogant. Simply put, the 7 daughters of monarch Mo Shui were all colder. Monarch Mo Shui himself was also very proud and aloof. She was strong, and her father was strong. Not many people could enter her eyes. Many female transcendents were single. In her previous life, Jing Qiu was much more valiant than those female transcendents. She only had one goal, to transcend and become an almighty being. Hence, even though she had lived for such a long time in her previous life, she had never been in love. To a powerful universe god like her, matters of the heart were no longer attractive. After reincarnating, she hooked up with Dongbu Shuang and had a pair of children. After she became a deity and awakened the memories of her previous life, she was somewhat afraid. She was afraid that Dongbu Shuang would become estranged from her after finding out. After all, not everyone would be able to accept knowing that his wife was an old fellow with over 1 billion years of memories. More importantly, Jing Qiu had never experienced matters of the heart in her previous life. Hence, she especially valued her husband, her son, and her daughter. She was afraid. Hence, she tried her best to hide it. Of course, this was only one of the reasons. The other reason was because of her great enemy. Jing Qiu, rumor has it that Star Sword Mysterious Daughter offended one of the deity world's fierce 5, old ancestor Golden Firmament, and was killed by him. Dongbu Shuang asked. Yes, I did offend old ancestor Golden Firmament. Even father couldn't protect me. In order to escape, I simply chose to reincarnate and avoid this calamity. Jing Qiu nodded lightly. Hence, while I was in the prefecture, father and I secretly acknowledged each other, but I didn't dare to make it public. I even kept my deity avatar because I was afraid that old ancestor Golden Firmament would find out that I had successfully reincarnated. I was afraid that he would kill me again. Dongbu Shuang couldn't help but ask, how did you offend old ancestor Golden Firmament? Old ancestor Golden Firmament. He was famous among the powerful existences. He was even stronger than his deceased master, Holy Master Crimson Dust, and close to the level of the three ancestors. The first of the deity world's fierce five was Pang Yi. The second was Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. He was much stronger than Old Ancestor Fierce Tyrant. Pang Yi was currently focused on perfecting his cultivation technique and kept a low profile. Usually, the deity world's fierce five would wreak havoc in the outside world. Their leader was Old Ancestor Golden Firmament. He was someone who could easily fight against the three ancestors and escape. This. Jing Qiu was a little embarrassed. It's like this. You should know of my previous reputation. Yes. Dongbu Shuang nodded. I wholeheartedly cultivated to become a stage 4 deity, or even a powerful existence. I disdained absorbing faith stones, Jing Qiu said. Thus, I made preparations long ago to go to some ancient ruins in search of fortuitous encounters. In one of them, I was extremely lucky and didn't encounter much danger. I obtained an inheritance, a remnant piece of the heart sword diagram. Who would have thought that Old Ancestor Golden Firmament had already led three of the deity world's fierce five and spent a great deal of effort to break through the many dangers. They were just a step away from reaching the core. Who would have thought that I would be the one to pluck the peaches? I was also puzzled as to why I didn't encounter any danger at all. Dongbu Shuang blinked. On one side were four powerful existences who had entered the ruins and broken through the many dangers. On the other side were stage 3 world deities. They had probably entered the ruins from another direction and easily reached the core without any danger. It's not entirely your fault. Dongbu Shuang said, after all, you didn't do it intentionally. What's more, it has already happened. It's just a remnant piece of the heart sword diagram. It's just a remnant piece. Jing Qiu said in a low voice, my father also invited a powerful existence to resolve the matter. It was only later that I found out that Old Ancestor Golden Firmament had spent a long time to obtain 4 remnant pieces of the heart sword diagram. I obtained the 5th and final piece. As long as I can gather all 5 pieces, it will be a complete ancient absolute art. Ah! Dongbu Shuang was flabbergasted. Hundreds of billions of years of effort, and I'm the only one missing. Many of the dangers in the ruins were solved by them, and I was lucky enough to obtain it. Jing Qiu said helplessly, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament was about to go crazy. He wanted to capture me and search my soul. Search your soul. Dongbu Shuaying's expression changed. An absolute art? Even a soul search wouldn't be able to find anything, right? An absolute art's inheritance was extremely difficult to obtain through a soul search. Right. Actually, I wanted to record it down and impart it to him. But my realm is too low, and this is just a remnant piece. I could only comprehend a tiny bit of it. There's no way for me to record it down. Jing Qiu said helplessly, Old Ancestor Golden Firmament probably wanted to capture me and search my soul in order to obtain as many remnant pieces as possible. After all, he's lacking in the last part. The more he obtained, the more he could rely on himself to make up for it. But no matter what, I couldn't allow him to search my soul. Old Ancestor Golden Firmament's ferocious aura reached the heavens, and my master didn't show up either. Thus, I could only choose to reincarnate and fight for a chance of survival, Jing Qiu said. Many powerful world deities had lived for too long, and could no longer maintain their original hearts. That was why they chose to reincarnate. They wanted to experience a brand new life, allowing their soul to regain its emptiness and vitality. But Jing Qiu chose to do so in order to escape. This was indeed a good way to escape. After reincarnation, even the blood blade wouldn't be able to find her. I didn't dare to reveal myself. I even temporarily stopped cultivating and focused on comprehending the Tao. Jing Qiu said, I wanted to wait a little longer. Snow Eagle, your talent and strength are dazzling. I felt that it wouldn't be too late for me to reveal my identity once you were strong enough. Otherwise, the moment my identity was revealed, old ancestor Golden Firmament would come. Dongbua Shuang nodded. That's right. The news of him becoming a stage 3 world deity should have already spread, and it would probably reach his master, the Blood Blade, very soon. But old ancestor Golden Firmament, his master, the God Emperor, shouldn't appear for him because of this, right? Chapter 527. You're right. Dongbua Shuang nodded. As one of the deity world's fierce five, forefather Golden Firmament is extremely ruthless. And you've really offended him. One must know that forefather Golden Firmament is famous for his ability to flee. He can easily escape from powerful existences on the same level as the three ancestors. However, he is slightly weaker in direct combat, which is why he is slightly weaker than the three ancestors. If he could obtain the complete heart sword diagram, his strength would increase tremendously and he would truly reach the level of the third ancestor. You've ruined his opportunity, and you have the last fragment of the heart sword diagram in your memory. He won't let you off easily. Jing Qiu was also vexed. But we're not afraid of him. Dongbua Shuang laughed. Our true bodies are both in the material world. He can't truly kill us. Right. Jing Qiu was also confident. Now that I've reincarnated, I can be considered a new life under the laws of the world. The karma between us has been greatly reduced, and it's hard for him to detect my existence. Furthermore, I've become a stage 4 world deity, so I can isolate myself from karma. Dongbua Shuang nodded. Eldest disciple brother Huiming, monarch Mo Shua, and the others were all capable of such a feat. Stage 4 world deities could easily comprehend other grade 1 deity hearts, and they usually had some understanding of karma. Thus, most stage 4 world deities would casually mention the names of powerful existences. However, monarch Yong, who fought with me, recognized me. Of course, he only recognized that the silver-haired girl was the mysterious Star Sword Maiden. He doesn't know my current identity. He knows that you helped me, and that our relationship is not shallow. Now, he should have something to ask of me, Dongbua Shuang said. He shouldn't casually say anything. Jing Qiu nodded. For the time being, the two of them did not wish to deal with forefather Golden Firmament. After all, he wasn't someone to be trifled with. Of course, they weren't afraid of him. As a stage 3 world deity, Dongbua Shuang was also a lord of a material world. In reality, he wasn't afraid of anyone. At the level of Temporal Island Lord, even if they wanted to kill him, they wouldn't be able to. As long as his life wasn't in danger, he would naturally be able to deal with it calmly. Jing Qiu, you should hurry up and become a stage 4 world deity. Dongbua Shuang said, after all, your true deity heart will become stronger after you level up. The speed of cultivation and comprehension would also increase. Since you are in closed-door cultivation, your identity will not be exposed. Even if you meet Yu, and Qingyao, you can just form a clone with the power of the world. Your own strength is more important. That's fine too. Jing Qiu nodded. She hadn't broken through before because she was worried that her husband would suspect her. Ha ha ha, both of us are stage 4 world deities. Even if we do make it public, forefather Golden Firmament won't be able to kill us. They might not chase after you like they did in the past. Dongbua Shuang said. Jing Qiu also smiled. That's right. Snow Eagle, you are the stage 3 world deity with the shortest cultivation time in the entire history of the deity world and Dark Abyss. Right now, the couple indeed had the confidence to face any expert. It's only been 39,000 years. According to the information we received, Dongbua Shuang became a stage 2 world deity in 5,000 years. Based on my calculations, it has only been 39,000 years since then. Monarch Yong returned to his own palace. His cold face was now filled with anxiety. The shortest record for becoming a Stage 3 world deity in the history of the deity world and Dark Abyss is even faster than Monarch Green and the Temporal Island Lord. The previous record was held by Manor Lord Feishue. Monarch Sang-yong sat cross-legged in a tightly shut palace hall. The interior of the hall was pitch black. Monarch Sang-yong sat cross-legged in the pitch-black hall, deep in thought. To be able to achieve such great accomplishments in such a short period of time represented astonishing potential. Throughout history, aside from Monarch Extermination, who had courted his own death, the other three had all been extremely stunning. If Monarch Extermination had not been killed, he would have long since reached the level of the three ancestors, given how he was able to suppress powerful existences when he was still a Stage 4 world deity. Thus, Monarch Sang-yong was very clear about Dongbu Shui Ying's current rise. He could not even find a helper. Thus, he was not too willing to offend him. Lower your head. Apologize. Think of a way to get the relic back from him. However, Dongbu Shuang will definitely be able to guess that it is no ordinary treasure. I'm afraid he won't agree so easily. Monarch Sang-yong felt bitter in his heart. Let's discuss this properly. Even if I have to give up everything and give up my empire, it will still be a small matter. When Dongbu Shuang and Monarch Sang-yong had fought, it had been in the sky above Eastern Region City. The commotion of the battle had been witnessed by countless deities in Eastern Region City, as well as many world deities living there. It was impossible to hide the news. When Monarch Sang-yong arrived at Eastern Region City, a mysterious Stage 4 world deity, the silver-haired woman, acted to block him. Later on, His Highness Dongbua acted to fight Monarch Sang-yong head-on. Their strengths were about the same. His Highness Dongbua and the Calm Sea Prefecture Master conversed for a long time. Many world deities approached and sensed that His Highness Dongbua is indeed a Stage 3 world deity. He might be relying on a legendary absolute art to fight a Stage 4 world deity. It's a Stage 3 world deity without a doubt. The Calm Sea Prefecture's Longshe clan has already spread the news. It's a Stage 3 world deity. The Supervisor Envoy's mansion has also made it public. General Mo and the other world deities have paid a visit to His Highness Dongbua. His Highness Dongbua is indeed a Stage 3 world deity. Piece by piece, the news quickly spread. This news continued to spread throughout the Bloodshed God Palace. Even the Temporal Island, the Myriad God Palace, and some other remote and mysterious regions in the deity world, as well as the terrifying existences in the distant Dark Abyss, had received this news. In the deepest level of the Dark Abyss, this level of the world was deathly silent. There was only a single life form in the entire world. He was currently sitting cross-legged, and the breath he exhaled from his nostrils filled the entire deathly silent world, causing the temperature of this world to reach a frightening level. His body was so huge that it was unfathomable. Even someone who had cultivated the time-immemorial body to grand completion was nothing more than a tiny speck compared to this life form. Due to his huge body, if he were to lie down, he would be able to traverse the entire level of the Dark Abyss. His head would be on one end of the world, while his feet would be on the other end. As a result, he was the only person in this level of the world, and he would usually be able to have a good sleep here. Amen. As he sat cross-legged, he opened his eyes. His pair of eyes were even larger than the sun and moon. A brat has appeared in the deity world, and he actually became a Stage 3 world deity in just 39,000 years. This huge existence muttered in a low voice, his voice reverberating throughout the entire level of the world. That bloodshed brat's luck is truly good. Such a brat was actually snatched away by him. I've heard that he came from the material world, and that idiot from the Temporal Island actually failed to obtain him. Interesting, interesting. If he were to be nurtured properly, he might become a good helper. Deity World, within the secret underground palace of the Bloodshed God Palace. In front of the Scarlet Cosmos Furnace, Blood Blade was currently sitting cross-legged. The black bird was no longer on his shoulder, it was unknown where it had run off to. Master. A vigorous voice reverberated throughout the palace. It was the treasure spirit of the entire Bloodshed God Palace. "Emin, what's the matter?" Blood Blade asked. "Master, Dongbua Shuang has become a stage 3 world deity," the vigorous voice said. Chapter 528. Blood Blade froze for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. "If I'm not wrong, he should have cultivated for 39,000 years. Such a cultivation speed is much faster than mine. There are many who have cultivated faster than Master, but in the current deity world, Master is the strongest. Those who have cultivated faster than Master have mostly died," the vigorous voice said. "I hope that he can continue on this path." Blood Blade was filled with hope. He stood at the apex of the deity world and the abyss, and those who could stand on equal footing with him could be counted on one hand. Over the long years, he had seen many ups and downs, as well as the rise and fall of many talented transcendents with grade 1 true meanings. The current Dongbua Shuang had cultivated at a speed comparable to that of his eldest disciple, Monarch Green, whom he was most proud of. Even so, Blood Blade was still just looking forward to it. After all, he had long since believed that his beloved disciple, Dongbua Shuang, would have no problem advancing from stage 1 to stage 4. Only after reaching stage 4 would the truly difficult path of cultivation begin. At that time, he would gradually come into contact with the world of His Majesty, God Emperor. In a desolate starry sky far away from Eastern Region City, Dongbua Shuang and the silver-haired, white-robed woman faced each other from a distance. He smiled at his wife. Jing Qiu had long since evolved her inner world with the help of a large amount of deity crystals. Her inner world had continuously improved, reaching the stage 4 world deity realm in a single breath. Dongbua Shuang had even given his wife many treasures, such as a treasure that could isolate all probing of the laws of nature. He had even provided her with materials so that she could refine her own blood-refined deity warrior. Although the process of refining a blood-refined deity warrior was rather complicated, Jing Qiu could do it herself with her memories from her previous life. Dongbua Shuang had only cultivated for a short period of time, so he was completely clueless about medicinal pills, weapon refinement, hexing poisons, and many other aspects. Snow Eagle, last time I only used my deity energy to transform into Frost Sword energy. The conversion speed was too slow, and the amount of Frost Sword energy I had was too little. Since he doesn't have a world deity domain, dealing with Monarch Sangyong was so difficult. Jing Qiu laughed from afar. However, things won't be so simple this time. As she spoke, countless ice sword lights began to surge around her. The sword lights were vast and mighty, and they quickly spread out for hundreds of millions of miles, like a surging ocean of ice. In the middle of the vast sea of frost, Jing Qiu was the ruler of everything, emitting a terrifying sharpness. Dongbua Shuang was not surprised at all. His luminous sun force was also able to cover hundreds of millions of miles in the blink of an eye. Last time, Jing Qiu only had a deity body. Although her world deity secret techniques had reached an extremely high realm, the efficiency of converting deity energy was extremely low. How could it be as efficient as a stage 4 realm deity? Come at me. Let me see how powerful you are. Dongbua Shuang laughed. The feeling of going all out against his wife was quite interesting. However, you have to defeat my world clone first. Immediately, 9 starry blue-robed Dongbua Shuang appeared in the void. Jing Qiu had only been a stage 4 world deity for a short period of time, so her attainments in the world deity heart were not as deep as Dongbua Shuang's. Thus, she could not forcefully suppress Dongbua Shuang and prevent him from condensing his world body. Snow Eagle, you have to be careful. Jing Qiu's silver hair fluttered as she waved her hand. Hua! Immediately, countless ice sword lights surged forth. Dongbua Shuang looked into the distance, only to see countless ice sword lights surging forth like a vast ocean. Like a surging wave from the starry sky, they arrived in front of the 9 world clones in an instant. The 9 starry blue-robed Dongbu Shuang also began to display his spear techniques. At the same time, his luminous sun force surged forth, bang! 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 The unyielding luminous sun force formed countless chains that charged forward. However, these ice sword lights were extremely sharp. Although their power was greatly reduced by the impact, they still managed to cut through the chains and continued to attack the 9 world bodies. The 9 world bodies displayed their spear techniques to defend themselves, but they were completely suppressed. Soon, the ice sword lights pierced into their bodies. After all, no matter how good their spear techniques were, they could not defend against the all-pervasive sword lights. Although the time immemorial body had already reached the 6th level, it was still unable to withstand the sword lights. They were constantly penetrated, and soon, the 9 world bodies were crushed under the countless sword lights. Stop, stop, stop. I admit defeat. Dongbu Shuang hurriedly said. Only then did the ice sword lights retreat. Jing Qiu said, your real body hasn't even made a move yet. How can you admit defeat? My real body is indeed stronger than the world bodies, but only in terms of the Scarlet Cloud Spear. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. You've already destroyed the 9 world bodies, so how could my real body withstand it? I truly did not expect that the power of your ice sword lights would be so great after accumulating. Your strength is in no way inferior to Monarch Cangyong. In terms of strength, he was also weaker than Monarch Cangyong. Previously, in the battle above East Region City, he and Jing Qiu had joined hands to stop Monarch Cangyong. Jing Qiu smiled. My ice sword lights have also absorbed some of the profound mysteries of the heart sword diagram, so they are even more powerful. However, the heart sword diagram is too profound. I plan to properly comprehend the heart sword diagram after I finish refining the blood-refined deity armament. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. I never expected that I, Dongbu Shuang, with my illustrious reputation, would not even be able to defeat my own wife. I'll cultivate as long as you cultivate. Jing Qiu curled her lips. Ha ha ha, I'm just teasing you. Don't worry, your man, will be able to defeat you very soon. Dongbu Shuang laughed. Come, let's go back. All right. Jing Qiu nodded. The two immediately boarded the Starfield flying ship and traveled through the space-time tunnel back to East Region City. After returning to the supervisor envoy's residence, Jing Qiu quietly went into seclusion. With her strength, it was only natural that no one would notice her. After all, there were only 2 Stage 4 world deities in the entire Calm Sea Prefecture. One was the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, and the other was Jing Qiu. Dongbu Shuang went to see his daughter and give her some pointers on her cultivation. Qingyao, comprehending the laws of heaven and earth, should focus on the essence of things. However, this is too prejudiced. You should temporarily let go of your current comprehension and try again in a different direction. Dongbu Shuang extended his hand, condensing the power of the world into a sword. Although he had never studied sword techniques, the essence of the laws of heaven and earth was the same. Since Dongbu Shuaying's realm was much higher than his daughter's, he could naturally give her some pointers in a simpler way. Dongbu and Qingyao listened attentively. She had grown up listening to her father's stories, and she worshipped him immensely. As he was giving pointers to his daughter, a sudden surge of power was transmitted over. Dongbu Shuang immediately sensed that this power belonged to his master. Although he had a treasure that could isolate all laws of heaven and earth, he did not dare to obstruct his master. Dongbu. A voice resounded in his mind. Master, Dongbu Shuang hurriedly replied. To be able to become a Stage 3 world deity in such a short period of time, not bad. However, you should know that many Grade 1 true meaning transcendents ended up being stuck at Stage 4. Even Monarch Extermination, whose talent was not any weaker than yours, ended up destroying himself. Your path of cultivation has only just begun. Do not be arrogant. Cultivation is also the cultivation of the heart. Bloodblade continued, Now that your fame has spread, there will definitely be many experts who will come to pay a visit or even befriend you. However, you must remember that not everyone can give you benefits. If you do, it will become karma. Dongbu Shuang was startled. Yes, master. This disciple understands. That terrifying power immediately retreated. Many experts will come to pay a visit. Dongbu Shuang frowned slightly. Blood Blade was right. Just half a month later, many experts came to pay a visit. Your Highness Dongbu, I heard that your Highness is looking for demon bone ash. Ha, this old man just so happens to have 3 kilograms of demon bone ash which I am willing to gift to your Highness, a golden-haired old man laughed. There was also wine placed on the table in front of Dongbu Shuang. He lifted the wine cup and drank a mouthful before laughing. 9 Rigid Prefecture Master, this gift is too valuable. I do not dare to accept it. Previously, with his master's reminder, Dongbu Shuang was extremely intelligent. He immediately understood that his current cultivation speed was extremely fast, and he had even broken the record of becoming a stage 3 world deity. The various superpowers should understand that Dongbu Shuang would soar into the sky very soon, and he might even become an almighty in the future. The moment he became an almighty, he might even reach the level of the 3 ancestors. Knowing that Dongbu Shuang would have an extremely high status in the future, they naturally had to help him while he was still weak. After all, when Dongbu Shuang reached the level of the 3 ancestors, Dongbu Shuang would no longer be interested in their gifts. If they were to give it now, and Dongbu Shuang accepted it, it would become karma. He would have to repay it in the future. Of course, if Dongbu Shuang were to stop at stage 4, their gifts would be wasted. But this was a gamble. If they were to give it now, in the future, when Dongbu Shuang became stronger, he would have to repay this karma. Of course, he could also choose not to repay it. If he did so, it would be a huge hindrance to his cultivation. Your Highness, a voice suddenly came from outside. Sky River Prefecture Master is here to pay a visit. What a coincidence. Dongbu Shuang looked at the golden-haired old man in front of him. 9 Rigid Prefecture Master, you don't mind, right? Let Sky River Prefecture Master come in and have a seat. It has been a long time since I last met with that Sky River brat. 9 Rigid Prefecture Master smiled and nodded. However, he was somewhat unhappy in his heart. Dongbu Shuang did not immediately accept his gift. It seemed that it would not be so easy to form karma with a gift. Star. Chapter 529. The 9 Rigid Prefecture Master and the Sky River Prefecture Master were the first 2 stage 4 world deities to pay a visit. After sending them off, in the following month, other stage 4 world deities came to pay a visit. If it was an ordinary person or a weaker one, they would probably want to receive a sufficiently precious gift. But the stronger one was, the harder it was for them to receive a gift. Most of the visiting stage 4 world deities brought demon bone ash along with them. Normally, it was impossible to buy even if one wanted it. But these overlord existences in the deity world could take out some if they really wanted it. After all, they had lived for a long time and had a deeper foundation. Dongbu Shuang only said, I can't accept it for free, but I'm willing to buy it. 50 million deity crystals per kilogram of demon bone ash is enough for me to buy 5 kilograms. Although cultivating the 4th volume of Luminous Sun required more rare treasures and demon bone ash, he did not have enough deity crystals on him unless he took out the treasures in Crimson Rock Mountain to exchange. Secondly, he was not in a hurry. After all, cultivating the 4th volume of Luminous Sun would require him to become a stage 4 world deity. Once he had accumulated more deity crystals, he could slowly buy it. This 50 million deity crystals per kilogram. 10 million deity crystals is enough. Those stage 4 world deities still felt that Dongbu Shuaying's price was too high. 50 million deity crystals, I'm willing to buy 5 kilograms, Dongbu Shuaying said. This price was not considered cheap, nor could it be considered karma. It was just that they had some friendship. In the end, it was the first 5 stage 4 world deities to rush over. Dongbua Shuang each bought 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. They could be considered to have gotten to know each other. Sigh. It's not easy to form karma with Dongbua Shuang. His Highness Dongbua is the personal disciple of His Majesty. He is not stupid. How could he casually accept a gift? In a short month, a total of 35 stage 4 world deities came to pay a visit. Some wanted to form karma, while others wanted to get to know each other. Many of these stage 4 world deities came from faraway places. However, none of the Almighties came to visit him. Only the familiar Chihua Laozu came to congratulate him from afar. After all, the Almighties had already transcended. They were not as anxious as the stage 4 world deities. The sun. It was one of the 2 most mysterious and powerful stars. Along with the moon star, it was located at the 2 poles of the immortal world, forever illuminating the immortal world, the material world, and the dark abyss. Furthermore, it was impossible to find it by flying normally. Hong, the sun was a gigantic fireball. The flames on its surface were liquid, just like the seawater of a planet. The flames of the sun star were also flowing, incomparably hot and terrifying. However, its power could radiate through the entire material plane, the dark abyss, and the dark abyss, which showed how terrifying it was. Its laws were much more complicated than the laws of heaven and earth. It was comparable to the laws of the material world and the dark abyss. Many Almighties often came to the solar star. Ha ha ha. On the surface of the sun star, there was a house with a small courtyard. The courtyard was only about 10 meters in radius. Outside the small courtyard was the boundless flames of the sun. Within the small courtyard, there was a white-haired, youthful-looking old man laughing loudly. I, Chihua, am truly lucky. Back then, I helped that brat Dongbua. Who would have thought that he would have such accomplishments today? I'm afraid that he might even surpass me in the future. Ha, the karma that he owes me isn't light at all. Back then, saving Jing Qiu was as easy as lifting a finger to Chihua Laozu. But to the Dongbua Shuang, it was something that he was willing to exchange with his life for. He begged the temporal temple for help, but the temporal temple was disdainful. They believed that Dongbua Shuang didn't have any value at all. After all, to save Jing Qiu back then, they either needed a rare treasure that could recreate a soul, or they needed a powerful existence to act. Both of these options were extremely costly. Back then, Dongbua Shuang was at his wit's end. Even if he begged for help, there was no way out. As a powerful existence, Chihua Laozu had acted. This karma, to Dongbua Shuang, it was a karma that he would have to repay with his life. Dongbua brat, your future is limitless. In the future, this old man will need your help. Don't reject me. When Chihua Laozu congratulated him, he specially added a sentence. Forefather, you only need to say a word. Dongbua Shuang will risk his life to help forefather. Dongbua Shuang was straightforward. There's no rush. At the very least, I'll ask for your help after you become a powerful existence. Chihua Laozu said. Dongbua Shuang was very grateful. Because Chihua Laozu said this sentence, it meant that this karma could be repaid after he became a powerful existence. Then, when he became a powerful existence from stage 4, the impact of this huge karma would be very small. 3 months after Dongbua Shuang became a stage 3 world deity. At the border between the deity world and the dark abyss, a gigantic black palm pierced through the void and descended, enveloping a region of 500 billion kilometers. That vast region of 500 billion kilometers was completely frozen. The venomous Ying world deity, who was originally fleeing in panic, stared at the gigantic palm in horror. She anxiously shouted, Monarch, Monarch, please spare my life. Please spare my life. Her other avatar had just been captured, and this body of hers had attempted to flee in vain. spare your life? Ha ha ha, I'm going to give you to Dongbush Shuang as a gift. The terrifying black palm directly grabbed out. Venomous Ying world deity struggled with all her might, but the space around her was completely frozen. Venomous Ying world deity felt despair. The moment she heard that Dongbush Shuang had become a stage 3 world deity, she fell into a daze. She no longer had any wishful thinking and immediately began to flee. Now, Dongbush Shuang had yet to act, but an ancient stage 4 world deity who had lived for who knew how long had taken action. This old man had carefully investigated the area for 3 months before confirming the whereabouts of the 2 bodies of the venomous Ying world deity. Only then did he act and capture both of them. It was true that the moment he acted, the venomous Ying world deity no longer had any hope. While the venomous Ying world deity was being captured, monarch Sangyong finally came to pay a visit to Dongbush Shuang in Eastern Region City. Monarch Sangyong. Many of the soldiers and female attendants in the supervisor envoy residence were watching curiously. 3 months ago, monarch Sangyong had fought with Shuang in the sky above Eastern Region City. Now, monarch Sangyong actually dared to come back. Furthermore, the one who had assassinated Commander Bai Li Shang was a subordinate of monarch Sangyong. Both sides had a grudge against each other. Monarch, this way please. A world deity guard personally led the way. Having seen too many stage 4 world deities over the past few days, these guards had long since calmed down. Soon, they were led into the hall. Within the hall, only Dongbush Shuang was seated. He pointed to the opposite side and said, Monarch Sangyong, this way please. Monarch Sangyong took a seat, facing Dongbush Shuang from a distance. Your Highness Dongbua, I am truly ashamed. I hope that you won't take offense to my actions. Dongbush Shuang smiled. Monarch Sangyong, let's not speak such empty words. I, Dongbush Shuang, may be confident in my abilities, but I do not believe that I can make a stage 4 world deity personally apologize to me. Furthermore, I only killed one of your subordinates' avatars. You personally came to kill me, and now you've come to apologize. Monarch Sangyong, you must have a request, and it's not a small one. Admirable, Monarch Sangyong praised. Speak. What is it? Dongbush Shuang asked. He was also curious as to why Monarch Sangyong had come. Was it because of that black sphere? Over the past 3 months, he had spent a great deal of time researching the black sphere. His true body had spent 100 times faster time in Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world, but he had still not been able to uncover its secrets. Even so, there was one thing he was certain of. Based on the profoundness of the formation, the black sphere was definitely an incredible treasure. Monarch Sangyong looked outside the hall. With a smile, Dongbush Shuang waved his hand, and with a rumble, the door closed. I'll just say it directly. I reckon that your highness has already guessed it. Monarch Sangyong waved his hand, and an illusory black sphere appeared in front of him. This is precisely the treasure I need. Dongbush Shuang nodded with a smile. Just as I guessed. Could Monarch Sangyong tell me what it is exactly? What secret does it have? Chapter 530. The 9 Rigid Prefecture Master and the Sky River Prefecture Master were the first 2 stage 4 world deities to pay a visit. After sending them off, in the following month, other stage 4 world deities came to pay a visit. If it was an ordinary person or a weaker one, they would probably want to receive a sufficiently precious gift. But the stronger one was, the harder it was for them to receive a gift. Most of the visiting stage 4 world deities brought demon bone ash along with them. Normally, it was impossible to buy even if one wanted it. But these overlord existences in the deity world could take out some if they really wanted it. After all, they had lived for a long time and had a deeper foundation. Dongbush Shuang only said, I can't accept it for free, but I'm willing to buy it. 50 million deity crystals per kilogram of demon bone ash is enough for me to buy 5 kilograms. Although cultivating the fourth volume of Luminous Sun required more rare treasures and demon bone ash, he did not have enough deity crystals on him unless he took out the treasures in Crimson Rock Mountain to exchange. Secondly, he was not in a hurry. After all, cultivating the fourth volume of Luminous Sun would require him to become a stage 4 world deity. Once he had accumulated more deity crystals, he could slowly buy it. This, 50 million deity crystals per kilogram. 10 million deity crystals is enough. Those stage 4 world deities still felt that Dongbua Shui Ying's price was too high. 50 million deity crystals, I'm willing to buy 5 kilograms, Dongbua Shuang said. This price was not considered cheap, nor could it be considered karma. It was just that they had some friendship. In the end, it was the first 5 stage 4 world deities to rush over. Dongbua Shuang bought 5 kilograms of demon bone ash each, and they could be considered to have gotten to know each other. Sigh. It's not easy to form karma with Dongbua Shuang. His Highness Dongbua is the personal disciple of His Majesty. He is not stupid. How could he casually accept a gift? In a short month, a total of 35 stage 4 world deities came to pay a visit. Some wanted to form karma, while others just wanted to get to know each other. Many of these stage 4 world deities came from faraway places. However, none of the Almighties came to visit him. Only the familiar Chihua Laozu came to congratulate him from afar. After all, the Almighties had already transcended. They were not as anxious as the stage 4 world deities. The sun. It was one of the 2 most mysterious and powerful stars. Along with the moon star, it was located at the 2 poles of the immortal world, forever illuminating the immortal world, the material world, and the dark abyss. Furthermore, it was impossible to find it by flying normally. Boom, the sun was a gigantic fireball. The flames on its surface were liquid, just like the seawater of a planet. The flames of the sun star were also flowing, incomparably hot and terrifying. However, its power could radiate through the entire material plane, the dark abyss, and the dark abyss, which showed how terrifying it was. Its laws were much more complicated than the laws of heaven and earth. It was comparable to the laws of the material world and the dark abyss. Many Almighties often came to the sun star. Ha ha ha. On the surface of the sun star, there was a house with a small courtyard. The courtyard was only about 10 meters in radius. Outside the small courtyard was the boundless flames of the sun. Within the small courtyard, there was a white-haired elder with a youthful face laughing loudly. I, Chihua, am truly lucky. Back then, I helped that brat Dongbua. Who would have thought that he would have such accomplishments today? I'm afraid that he might even surpass me in the future. Ha, the karma he owes me isn't light at all. Back then, to Chihua Laozu, saving Jing Qiu was as easy as lifting a finger. But to the Dongbua Shuang, it was something he was willing to exchange with his life for. He begged the temporal temple, but the temporal temple was disdainful. They believed that Dongbua Shuang didn't have any value at all. After all, to save Jing Qiu back then, they either needed a rare treasure that could recreate a soul, or they needed a powerful existence to act. Both of these options were extremely costly. Dongbua Shuang was at his wit's end. Even if he begged for help, there was no way out. Despite being a powerful existence, Chihua Laozu still acted. This karma, to Dongbua Shuang, it was a karma he would have to repay with his life. Dongbua brat, your future is limitless. In the future, this old man will need your help. Don't reject me. When Chihua Laozu congratulated him, he specially added a sentence. Forefather, you only need to say a word. Dongbua Shuang will risk his life to help forefather. Dongbua Shuang was straightforward. There's no rush. At the very least, I'll ask for your help after you become a powerful existence. Chihua Laozu said. Dongbua Shuang was very grateful. Because Chihua Laozu said this sentence, it meant that this karma could be repaid after he became a powerful existence. Then, when he became a powerful existence from stage 4, the impact of this huge karma would be very small. 3 months after Dongbu Shuang became a stage 3 world deity. At the border between the deity world and the dark abyss, a gigantic black palm pierced through the void and descended, enveloping a region of 500 billion kilometers. That vast region of 500 billion kilometers was completely frozen. The venomous Ying world deity, who was originally fleeing in panic, stared at the gigantic palm in horror. She anxiously shouted, "Monarch, monarch, please spare my life. Please spare my life." Her other avatar had just been captured, and this body of hers had attempted to flee in vain. Spare your life? Ha ha ha, I'm going to give you to Dongbu Shuang as a gift. The terrifying black palm directly grabbed out. Venomous Ying world deity struggled with all her might, but the space around her was completely frozen. Venomous Ying world deity felt despair. The moment she heard that Dongbu Shuang had become a stage 3 world deity, she fell into a daze. She no longer had any wishful thinking and immediately began to flee. Now, Dongbu Shuang had yet to act, but an ancient stage 4 world deity who had lived for who knew how long had taken action. This old man had carefully investigated the area for 3 months before confirming the whereabouts of the 2 bodies of the venomous Ying world deity. Only then did he act and capture both of them. It was true that the moment he acted, the venomous Ying world deity no longer had any hope. While the venomous Ying world deity was being captured, monarch Sangyong finally came to pay a visit to Dongbu Shuang in Eastern Region City. Monarch Sangyong. Many of the soldiers and female attendants within the supervisor envoy residence were watching curiously. 3 months ago, monarch Sangyong had fought with Shuang in the sky above the Eastern Region City. Now, monarch Sangyong still dared to show up. Furthermore, the one who had assassinated Commander Bai Li Shang was a subordinate of monarch Sangyong. Both sides had a grudge against each other. Monarch, this way please. A world deity guard personally led the way. Having seen too many stage 4 world deities over the past few days, these guards had long since calmed down. Soon, they were led into the hall. Within the hall, only Dongbu Shuang was seated. He pointed to the opposite side and said, Monarch Sangyong, this way please. Monarch Sangyong took a seat, facing Dongbu Shuang from a distance. Your Highness Dongbu, I am truly ashamed. I hope that you won't take offense to my actions. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Monarch Sangyong, let's not speak such empty words. I, Dongbu Shuang, may be confident in my abilities, but I do not believe that I can make a stage 4 world deity personally apologize to me. Furthermore, I only killed one of your subordinates' avatars. You personally came to kill me, and now you've come to apologize. Monarch Sangyong, you must have a request, and it's not a small one. Admirable, Monarch Sangyong praised. Speak. What is it? Dongbu Shuang asked. He was also curious as to why Monarch Sangyong had come. Was it because of that black sphere? Over the past 3 months, he had spent a great deal of time researching the black sphere. His true body had spent 100 times faster time in Crimson Rock Mountain of the Xia people's world, but he had still not been able to uncover its secrets. Even so, there was one thing he was certain of. Based on the profoundness of the formation, the black sphere was definitely an incredible treasure. Monarch Sangyong looked outside the hall. With a smile, Dongbu Shuang waved his hand, and with a rumble, the door closed. I'll just say it directly. I reckon that your highness has already guessed it. Monarch Sangyong waved his hand, and an illusory black sphere appeared in front of him. This is precisely the treasure I need. Dongbu Shuang nodded with a smile. Just as I guessed. Could Monarch Sangyong tell me what it is exactly? What secret does it have? Chapter 531. Monarch Yong frowned as he looked at Dongbu Shuang in front of him. Dongbu Shuang simply smiled back at him, causing Monarch Yong to feel somewhat anxious and helpless. This Dongbu Shuang is truly direct. He knows that I can't do anything to him, so he has nothing to fear. Despite his helplessness, Monarch Yong understood the situation. With a thought, his world deity domain immediately spread out. Even the treasures he carried with him that isolated all probing of laws were activated, ensuring that the hall was absolutely safe from anyone's prying eyes. Dongbu Shuang silently watched on. Your Highness, could you first let me see if you have such a treasure? Monarch Yong asked. Sure. Dongbu Shuang extended his hand, and a black sphere appeared on his palm. Its surface was covered with countless uneven patterns. Monarch Yong's eyes lit up the moment he laid eyes on it, and he became incomparably excited. With a single glance, he could tell that this was the treasure he had been yearning for even in his dreams. With this treasure, he would be able to greatly increase his strength. At present, he was just a young stage 4 world deity, and even those old fellows who had lived for a long time were much stronger than him. For example, Jing, who had obtained the incomplete heart sword diagram and fused it with her secret technique, was now comparable to Monarch Yong after stepping into the stage 4 world deity realm. This level of strength could only be considered average among stage 4 world deities. Compared to new stage 4 world deities, he was slightly stronger. However, compared to eldest disciple brother Huiming or the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, he was still a notch weaker, let alone Monarch Mo Shui, who had fought undefeated against powerful existences. With this, my strength will greatly increase, and I'll be able to obtain even more precious treasures. My chances of transcending will also increase, Monarch Yong thought. The stronger one was, the easier it would be for one to obtain precious treasures. How is it? Dongbu Shuang flipped his hand and put it away. Your Highness shouldn't be able to discover its secrets, right? Monarch Yong laughed. I can say that in the entire deity world, aside from me, there is probably no one who can unravel its secrets. In the hands of others, it's just a plaything, completely useless. Only in my hands will it be of some use. Oh. Dongbu Shuang responded. He had studied the black sphere for a long time, but he had not discovered any secrets. However, anyone with a bit of eyesight could tell that this was no ordinary item. Ha ha ha, I have already prepared 5 kilograms of demon bone ash. Monarch Yong was extremely cordial. There are also 2 Zouwu beasts, both of which have the combat power of stage 3 world deities. I am willing to gift them to your Highness, as long as your Highness gives me the black sphere. Dongbu Shuang clicked his tongue and sighed. 5 pounds of demon bone ash. 2 Swanee beasts. Although I have never heard of a Zouwu beast, it is extremely rare for it to have the battle power of a stage 3 world deity. What a grand gesture. Monarch Yong hastily replied, Your Highness, the Zouwu beast is a type of insect beast that I painstakingly raised. It is absolutely loyal. I heard that Your Highness has a pair of children. These 2 Zouwu beasts can be taken care of by Your Highness's children. They are definitely the best guards. That's a pretty big deal. What a pity. Dongbu Shuang shook his head. Previously, when many stage 4 world deities came to visit me, many of them came to gift me demon bone ash. I also bought some of them, so I am not lacking in demon bone ash. As for the insect beasts, I don't lack these 2 insect beasts. Monarch Yong's expression changed slightly. This Dongbu Shuang was clearly not satisfied. His appetite was quite big. But what could he do? Your Highness, this black sphere is useless to you, Monarch Yong said. As long as your Highness gives it to me, you can name whatever treasures you need. As long as I, Yong, am able to produce it, I am willing to give it to your Highness. Furthermore, I can swear an oath that I will fight for your Highness 3 times in the future. As long as I do not lose my life, I will not retreat even if I have to lose a clone. Dongbu Shuang looked at monarch Songyong. Smiling, he picked up the wine flask on the table and poured himself some wine. Don't be in such a hurry. Let's first drink a cup and slowly talk. Monarch Songyong could only suppress his temper and pour wine as well, accompanying Dongbu Shuang in drinking. He had already said everything he could say. As long as it was within his means, he was willing to pay. Now, the decision was entirely up to Dongbu Shuang. Monarch Songyong, you still haven't told me what this is. Dongbu Shuang lifted the wine flask and took a sip. Monarch Songyong hesitated for a moment, then said, this black sphere is actually an extremely valuable tool used to breed insects. Tool? Dongbu Shuang frowned. That's not all. Is a mere tool worth you putting your life on the line? Although the tool itself is valuable, what's even more valuable is what's inside, Monarch Songyong said in a low voice. Inside the tool is an insect egg known as a flowing light insect. Snow Eagle's pupils shrank and his expression changed greatly. Flowing light insect. It was a very ordinary name, but it represented a legend, a very frightening legend. This was one of the most frightening insects out of all the countless insects. There was once a stage 3 world deity who was able to breed a fully matured flowing light insect that could rival powerful existences. This was also one of the most enviable aspects of cultivating insects. It allowed one to cultivate an insect that far surpassed one's own strength. There's a powerful existence hidden within this black sphere. Dongbu Shuang muttered inwardly. Furthermore, it was an absolutely loyal powerful existence. The flowing light insect was extremely powerful, but by attaching one's consciousness to it, it could move independently. It could also be protected by the flowing light insect, allowing a world deity to hide within its body. Furthermore, the flowing light insect was famous for its speed. It was a terrifying insect that excelled in speed and could protect its master. In a head-on battle, it could rival powerful existences. It's just an insect egg, Monarch Songyong said. Monarch Songyong hurriedly said, without special breeding methods and painstaking efforts to raise it, it would be impossible for it to immediately rival a powerful existence. Furthermore, apart from me, I'm afraid that no one else can open this tool. I can tell you that the complex array diagram on this black sphere is equivalent to a lock. If one doesn't know the method to open it, they won't be able to open it. I'm afraid that not even His Majesty, the God Emperor, can do it. Can't do it? Dongbu Shuang chuckled. That's not necessarily true. Monarch Songyong was startled. Your Highness, please state a condition. None of you can open it, and even if you do, you don't know how to cultivate it. He did not dare to gamble. After all, the bloodshed god emperor was the strongest expert in the deity world. Even if it was an absolute art, he would still throw it out. Such an existence might really know some unique cultivation techniques for the insect beasts. Perhaps he might be able to open it, or perhaps he might even have a way to nurture it. In truth, Dongbu Shuang did not want to bother his master. Furthermore, cultivating insects required time and energy. You have a method to cultivate insects, right? Do you also have a method to open it? Dongbu Shuang asked. I obtained it from the ruins. Monarch Songyong nodded. Give me the method, Dongbu Shuang said. Without the slightest hesitation, Monarch Songyong flipped his hand, causing a thick black book to appear. Your Highness, you only need to use your consciousness to obtain the inheritance. This is an extremely ancient and precious method to cultivate insects. Its value is probably close to that of an absolute art. After all, there was a huge problem in cultivating insects. One needed to find the eggs to cultivate them. I'm saying that you give me this book, Dongbu Shuang said. Add 5 kilograms of demon bone ash and 2 and beasts. This black sphere belongs to you. I'm giving you the inheritance. Monarch Songyong was stunned. Inheritance could be passed down from generation to generation. It was just like how Dongbu Shuang had learned the luminous sun technique. Although he had learned it himself, he had been unable to pass it down to others. This was because his cultivation level was too low. He could only teach it to others if he mastered it. That's right, Dongbu Shuang said with a nod. What do you want the inheritance for? Can't you just learn it once? Monarch Yong was somewhat dissatisfied. The inheritance represented an ancient method to cultivate insects. Even if he were to make a deal with another power and let another expert learn it once, the other party would have to pay a huge price. Dongbu Shuang smiled. Haven't you already learned it? Once you obtain this black sphere, your strength will definitely increase greatly in the future. In the end, this inheritance is still an external object, isn't it? Furthermore, I don't have the flowing light insect, so it's useless for me to learn it. After all, I don't have the time to waste on it. What right do you have to exchange it for this black sphere? That's why you should give me the inheritance, as well as your previous conditions. The black sphere is yours, Dongbu Shuang said. Only then can this deal be considered fair. Monarch Yong hesitated. He couldn't bear to part with it. He really couldn't bear to part with it. This inheritance was an extremely important treasure to him, and he hadn't expected that Dongbu Shuang would directly ask for it. Even if I keep it, I can only use it to make some deals. After all, I've already learned it, so it won't be of much use to me, Monarch Yong thought to himself. As for not being able to teach it to a disciple, if I'm powerful enough, why would I care about a disciple? Clearly, Dongbu Shuang didn't care about my previous conditions. Forget it. After the deal, I'll lose some external objects, but my strength will increase greatly. As far as I'm concerned, it's still worth it. Monarch Yong made his decision after some thought. Looking at Dongbu Shuang, he said, "Fine, I agree." Then let's make an oath, Dongbu Shuang said. Let my master bear witness. Chapter 532. Fine. Monarch Yong did not hesitate. The stately blood blade would not lower himself to be greedy for such an item. Since both sides had come to an agreement, they naturally began to make an oath. The oath naturally stipulated that Dongbu Shuang could not be his enemy. After all, if Monarch Yong's strength increased even faster, he could rely on the flowing light bug to threaten him. That would be troublesome. Of course, Dongbu Shuang believed that once Monarch Yong nurtured the flowing light bug to maturity, he would have the strength to deal with him. This kid's luck is pretty good. This should be the fifth insect scripture. The blood blade in front of the cosmic furnace sensed the oath and immediately understood what was going on. He could not help but smile. Although nurturing insects is a side path, the fifth insect scripture has indeed reached an extremely profound level in terms of formation diagrams. It can be used as a reference. Monarch Yong's guess was correct. God Emperor did not care about this insect scripture. As the strongest expert in the deity world, God Emperor's goal had already far exceeded the imagination of Yong and the others. That was on a completely different level. After making an oath, he did not dare to violate it. The power of an oath was very strong. Even with the protection of the material world, Stage 3 world deities did not fear Blood Blade if they did not make an oath. However, if they made an oath, God Emperor's attacks would be much stronger, allowing him to kill Stage 3 world deities through the material world. If they were not in the material world, like the deity world or the dark abyss, the power of an oath was even stronger. Even Stage 4 world deities and powerful existences would have to be careful and not make an oath lightly. Once an oath was made, it was impossible to violate it. Ha ha ha. Your Highness Dongbu, you are truly ruthless. Monarch Yong was in a good mood after obtaining the black sphere. He immediately laughed. Your conditions really make my heart ache. My heart aches. Dongbo Shuang also said, compared to monarch Songyong, what I have is nothing. Obtaining this inheritance will not increase my strength at all. I just want my children and descendants to learn it, so that even those with weak cultivation talent will have a way to protect themselves. This was pure nonsense. Dongbo Shuang did not want his children to walk on such an unorthodox path. His Highness Dongbo really treats his children well. Monarch Songyong smiled. Since the deal had been made, he had no regrets. He had already made preparations beforehand. Even if he had to give up all of his treasures and even his empire, he would still obtain the Black Sphere. Because everything else was external, the flowing light worm inside the Black Sphere could allow him to fight against almighties. I haven't seen the flowing light worm yet. Let me have a look. Dongbo Shuang said. All right. Monarch Songyong placed the Black Sphere on his table and gently stroked it with his hand. Immediately, the uneven patterns on the Black Sphere began to emit light. This light illuminated the surrounding air, revealing a three-dimensional formation diagram. At this moment, this incomparably profound formation diagram was gradually changing. Many different parts of the three-dimensional formation diagram were changing. Whoosh! The light from the three-dimensional formation diagram retracted, and the Black Sphere began to transform internally. Many of the uneven patterns on its surface began to split apart, revealing a sparkling egg of light within. Lying within the egg of light was a strange worm. The worm emitted a water-like radiance that constantly flowed, occasionally taking the shape of a worm. Just by looking at it, Dongbo Shuang felt his heart palpitate. It was as if he could already see the might of this worm. He could not help but say, the flowing light worm gives me the feeling that after it matures, it will not only be able to fight against almighties. It will only be at the level of almighties, Monarch Songyong replied. Monarch Songyong continued, unless the flowing light insect underwent another transformation, but that would be too difficult. Your Highness Dongbo, you will naturally understand once you learn the inheritance. Dongbo Shuang nodded. Then if there's nothing else, I'll take my leave. If His Highness Dongbo has any orders for me, feel free to let me know. I can do anything for His Highness 3 times, Monarch Songyong said with a smile. Very well. Dongbo Shuang stood up to send Monarch Songyong off. He knew that Monarch Songyong could not wait any longer and wanted to quickly return to cultivate his insects. In the underground hall of the supervisor envoy's residence, Jing Qiu was currently in closed-door cultivation for a long period of time. Since she had become a stage 4 world deity, she could no longer wantonly show off in public. Normally, when she saw her son and daughter, she would only condense the energy of the world into their bodies. Dongbo, you can ask for more. No matter how much Monarch Songyong's heart aches, he will still have to take it out, Jing Qiu teased. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. That's enough. No matter what, Monarch Songyong will never give me that flowing light worm. Without the method to cultivate it, without the method to activate the formation diagram, it is impossible for me to obtain it. Since that's the case, I'll just have to take a few more treasures. What I value the most is this inheritance. An ancient insect cultivation technique can cultivate insects that can even fight against powerful existences. Just the formation diagram reflected by that Black Sphere is already so profound. Dongbo Shuang sighed. The existence who created this cultivation technique must have reached an extremely high realm. If we can use this cultivation technique as a reference, it will be of great help to our cultivation. Different paths had their own similarities. Then I'll give it a try. Jing Qiu was also very curious. After all, this was a complete cultivation technique. You go first. Do we, husband and wife, care about who goes first and who goes last? Dongbo Shuang laughed. Jing Qiu immediately sent her consciousness into the inheritance, and for a moment, she became completely silent. Only faint fluctuations could be felt, indicating that she was currently receiving a large amount of information. Only after a breath's time did Jing Qiu recover. "Dongbua, you've really profited this time," Jing Qiu exclaimed. "This cultivation technique is truly incomparably profound. Even if it's a side path, it's still quite amazing." "Oh." Dongbua Shuang also sent his consciousness into the inheritance. Bang! A large amount of information surged into his mind. Countless array diagrams entered his mind, as well as all sorts of words. Only after a long time did he manage to learn everything. For a moment, a unique black book appeared in Dongbua Shuiying's mind. The black book could be flipped open, and within it, there were countless array diagrams and simple words to guide one. This black book floated in front of the true deity heart in his sea of consciousness. The true deity heart's small hands were still flipping through the book. The further one flipped through the black book, the more complex and profound it became. There were even some array diagrams that surpassed the array diagrams reflected by the black sphere. Black Bug Scripture. After learning it, Dongbua Shuang also understood the name of this cultivation technique. It was a technique specifically used to cultivate insects, and the most complex part of it was the array diagrams. If one's cultivation realm was extremely high, they would be able to use ordinary insects to nurture powerful insects. Naturally, it would be much easier to obtain terrifying insects like the flowing light insect. That was because they would naturally grow stronger. If one were to intentionally nurture them, they would naturally become even more extraordinary. Impressive. Dongbua Shuang praised. It's truly impressive. It feels like the laws of heaven and earth can be casually kneaded and formed into countless array diagrams. Jing Qiu also sighed in admiration. The two of them did not know how to cultivate insects, but this array diagram allowed them to have a deeper understanding of the laws of heaven and earth. This was also the main reason why Dongbua Shuang wanted this cultivation technique. Any top-notch cultivation technique was extremely profound and could be used as a reference. After obtaining the Black Bug Scripture, Dongbua Shuang and Jing Qiu spent a lot of time comprehending these array diagrams. In fact, Dongbua Shuang even discovered many imperfections in his spear art, destruction. That was because there were some array diagrams that represented destruction. This caused Dongbua Shuang to be greatly moved. For example, his own secret skill, World Prison, had also started to fuse some of the insights he gained from the array diagrams, allowing him to create an even more powerful secret skill. In the past, Dongbua Shuang would often study the usage of the laws of profound mysteries in the luminous sun. But the luminous sun was extremely young and extremely tough, it was the same style. On the other hand, the Black Bug Scripture could be said to be all-encompassing. Darkness, destruction, life, gentleness, treachery, tyranny, all sorts of array diagrams were an eye-opener for Dongbua Shuang. Only half a month had passed, and it was already interrupted. A man whose entire body was covered in black fur and armor revealed a trace of a smile as he stood at the entrance of the supervisor's residence. He directly said, "Hurry up and send a message. Just say that I, Emperor Flame Demon, have come to pay a visit." Chapter 533. Within the palace hall of the supervisor envoy's residence. "Monarch, please take a seat." Dongbua Shuang was seated behind a long table, carefully observing Monarch Demonic Flame. Monarch Demonic Flame's entire body was covered in black fur, and his eyes were blood-red. He emitted an evil and cruel aura. His blood-red eyes were even faintly burning with flames. This was a stage 4 world deity with a fearsome reputation. He was much stronger than Monarch Sangyong, and was also an existence close to becoming a powerful existence. "Ha ha ha, Your Highness, Dongbua's reputation has spread far and wide. Many of us old fellows are discussing Your Highness." Monarch Demonic Flame laughed. "It's a pity that they didn't bring any gifts. Otherwise, they would have long since paid you a visit." "Monarch, you praise me too much. Compared to all of you, I'm still lacking, Dongbu Shuang said. Ha ha ha, don't be so humble. If you and I could both become powerful existences, I dare say that you would definitely be ahead of me. Monarch Demonic Flame beamed. However, his face was so savage and ugly that even when he smiled, it was still quite horrifying. Today, I've come to your Highness Dongbu's place to deliver a gift to you, as well as to plant some good karma. Ha, I don't expect anything in return from your Highness. I only hope that your Highness can help me out once you become a powerful existence. He was determined. If Dongbu Shuang were to become a powerful existence, he would most likely be on the same level as the three ancestors. The price to ask for the help of such an existence was simply too great. Oh. Dongbu Shuang looked at him. This monarch demonic flame was truly confident. Your Highness, please take a look. Monarch demonic flame waved his hand. Who? Two female world deities with enormous snake tails immediately appeared, bound in chains. They looked exactly the same, both were venomous-ing world deities. Venomous-ing? Dongbu Shuang was startled. Both venomous-ing world deities had a hint of despair in their eyes. She looked at Dongbu Shuang with a pleading gaze. Venomous-ing and I do have some enmity. Dongbu Shuang nodded. But she poses no threat to me at present. Once I grow stronger in the future, killing her will be as easy as lifting a finger. He no longer placed venomous-ing in his eyes. This venomous-ing world deity is extremely cautious, and it took me several months to capture her with the help of karma. After all, both of her avatars must be captured at the same time. But what your Highness said isn't wrong either. Once your Highness becomes a stage 4 world deity in the future and comprehend the karma deity heart, you'll naturally be able to capture both of her avatars with ease. However, I have acted to capture her so that your Highness can deal with your enemies more quickly. Furthermore, the venomous-ing world deity has a treasure on her. Treasure? Dongbu Shuang was surprised. Your Highness, please take a look. Emperor Flame Demon flipped his hand and a green leaf appeared in his palm. The green leaf exuded an ancient and boundless aura, making even Dongbu Shuang feel inferior. This is a remnant of the 10,000 poison record, the supreme inheritance of the voodoo Dao. Monarch Flame Devil chuckled. I never imagined that this venomous-ing world deity would have such a treasure on her. Even though the Dao of hexing poison is a side path, there are still ways to transcend it. We can use it as a reference. Even though this is just a remnant, it is still a remnant of the 10,000 poison record. Dongbu Shuang glanced at it and shook his head. The Tao of hexing poison mainly focuses on the study of plants, rocks, and other myriad existences. I don't have the mood to study them. Monarch Flame Devil was startled. He felt slightly awkward. Dongbu Shuang was right. Indeed, every Tao had its own similarities. But if the array diagrams of the black bug scripture could be used as a reference, then the Tao of hexing poison regarding the study of plants, rocks, and other myriad existences was truly useless. Furthermore, it was just a remnant. Its value was even lower. For instance, the complete black bug scripture was much more valuable than this remnant of the 10,000 poison record. In truth, only absolute arts like the luminous sun, which could be cultivated and allowed one's combat power to rise explosively, were truly priceless. Even a portion of such information was extremely valuable. For instance, the heart sword diagram fragment that Jing Qiu had obtained was also used for combat and was similarly valuable. This was also the reason why Forefather Golden Firmament was so furious. Forefather Golden Firmament had spent a long period of time just to gather the final part of the heart sword diagram. Yet, because of Jing Qiu, he had failed at the last step. Naturally, his anger would soar to the heavens. Even Monarch Mo Shui could not protect his daughter. Even Jing Qiu's previous master, a powerful existence, did not dare to step forward. In her previous life, Jing Qiu could only grit her teeth and choose to reincarnate, starting a brand new life. Forget about this remnant of the 10,000 poison record. Dongbo Shuang shook his head. He did not think much of it, and it was useless to Jing Qiu. As for his son and daughter, Dongbo Shuang did not wish for them to waste their time on hexing poison. Furthermore, it was just a remnant. The venomous Ying world deity had cultivated for such a long time. If it were the complete version, Dongbo Shuang would still be interested. I'll accept this venomous Ying world deity. Many thanks, Monarch Flame Devil. Dongbo Shuang smiled. I'll remember this favor. Haha, that's fine as well. Monarch Flame Devil stood up. Originally, he had only wanted to give the venomous Ying world deity to Shuang. This remnant piece of the myriad poison record had only been discovered after he had captured her and searched her body. Shuang was a personal disciple of His Majesty, so it was within his expectations that he would look down on the Tao of hexing poison. Then I won't stay any longer. I wish Your Highness Dongbo good luck in becoming a powerful existence soon. Monarch Flame Devil laughed. I'll accept Monarch's auspicious words. Dongbo Shuang also stood up to send him off. These old fellows all treated Dongbo Shuang as an existence on the same level, and they all wanted to befriend him. After all, Dongbo Shuang's combat power was at the stage 4 world deity level, and his potential was much higher than theirs. Even powerful existences could not underestimate Dongbo Shuang. After sending off Monarch Flame Devil, Dongbo Shuang returned to the palace hall. The two venomous Ying world deities were bound, and their true deity hearts had been sealed. They could not struggle at all. Her two avatars looked at Dongbo Shuang, and one of them growled, Dongbo Shuang, you're amazing. I admit that I was wrong about you. I didn't dare to disrupt your myriad flower feast, allowing you to become a disciple of His Majesty God Emperor and soar to the heavens. Dongbo Shuang watched from the side. That's right. The reason why he could rise so quickly was because of his master. His master was the strongest expert in the deity world, and his guidance on the chaotic deity heart and extremity deity heart pointed directly to the essence. Furthermore, he had bestowed an absolute art to him, as well as many spirit fruits and treasures. Without his master's guidance, his cultivation speed would definitely have been greatly reduced. But this was also normal. Those who had created miracles, like Monarch Extermination and Monarch Green, had all received nurturing that was not any less than what he had received. Right now, I'm in your hands, the venomous Ying world deity growled. Kill me, kill me. Right now, she could neither live nor die. Do you want to die so much? Dongbo Shuang softly asked. The venomous Ying world deity was startled. A sliver of disbelief appeared in her eyes as she said, if your highness is willing to spare my life, I'm naturally willing to serve you. You're overthinking things, Dongbo Shuang said. The venomous Ying world deity's eyes were filled with terror. Could you be? What she feared the most was Dongbo Shuang using all sorts of tortures to torture her, making her unable to die even if she wanted to. That was a true nightmare. That was why she had shouted for Dongbo Shuang to kill her from the start. After all, it would be a clean and efficient death, and there would be no pain at all. She would truly be tortured for millions or even billions of years, just the thought of it terrified her. Seeing the terrified look on the venomous Ying world deity's face, Dongbo Shuang sighed inwardly. The winner takes all. Back then, if not for Big Brother White Sand City Lord acting, if not for him being a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, his wife would most likely have been tortured as well. Oh, no, his wife Jing Qiu might be a deity on the surface, but in reality, her combat power was probably above that of the venomous Ying world deity. His wife had truly concealed herself deeply, not revealing herself until the very last moment. Let us end our grudges here. Dongbo Shuang extended his finger, causing 2 streams of white light to fly out from his fingertips. They drilled into the foreheads of the 2 venomous Ying world deity bodies, instantly destroying the sealed true deity heart within them. The aura of the two venomous Ing-world deity bodies dissipated. Only a look of relief could be seen on their faces. Dongbu Shuang shook his head inwardly. One could not be too overbearing in one's actions. Not giving others a path of survival was the same as not giving oneself a path of survival. Even though he was a personal disciple of His Majesty and a lord of a material world, he was only vicious and merciless towards his enemies. He would not be too excessive towards other world deities. After all, if one offended too many people, one could very well end up kicking an iron plate. The venomous Ing-world deity had previously not placed a deity brat in her eyes. How could she have known that one of the people she had offended was a grade 1 true meaning transcendent, while the other was someone stronger than her, Jing Qiu? Chapter 534. Time passed. Dongbu Shuaying's influence within the Calm Sea Prefecture grew. Everyone knew that there were only two clans with the highest status in the prefecture. One was the Calm Sea Prefecture Master, the Longshi clan, and the other was the Dongbu clan. Even Dongbu Yu and Dongbu Qingyao had great influence within the prefecture. When it came to Dongbu Shuaying, many powers would find it hard to even meet him. As such, they could only settle for the next best thing, befriending Dongbu Yu and Dongbu Qingyao. To this, Shuaying and his wife did not demand too much from their children. They only focused more on guiding them in their cultivation. As for the issue of their moral character, they had already endured in the Crimson Rock Mountain world for several thousand years. Their character had long since been set, and they did not have to worry about becoming a silk pants. However, there was one thing that made Jing Qiu feel helpless. Dongbu Yu and Dongbu Qingyao did not really listen to her. Perhaps they felt that their mother was only a peak stage deity, and they were also peak stage deities. Why should they listen to her? Even though they were their mother, they only listened to her on the surface. In their hearts, they still harbored some doubts. They did not dare to cultivate according to their mother's instructions, fearing that they would go astray. They worshipped Dongbu Shuaying even more, and they had absolute trust in Dongbu Shuaying's teachings. Dongbu Shuaying felt helpless about this. You two brats don't even know that your mother is actually a stage 4 world deity. Her realm is even higher than mine. Furthermore, stage 4 world deities are already beginning to comprehend the various deity hearts of the laws of heaven and earth. Others could only beg for such guidance, but these two brats were not willing to listen to it. But she couldn't say it out loud, so Jing Qiu could only swallow her grievances. Still, she was worried about her children, so she told Shuang many of her thoughts about her children's cultivation. In the underground hall of the supervisor envoy's residence, Dongbu Shuang was seated cross-legged. A gigantic black formation appeared in front of him. The gigantic formation exuded a dark aura as countless profound mysteries fused together. Dark world? Dongbu Shuang muttered softly. Flowers were blooming, plants were growing, the sun was shining, the wind was blowing, the gravel was flying, the river was rippling, the mountains were undulating, the world is colorful and all-encompassing. Everything can be accommodated. It's just that my current cultivation level is low, and my usage of the laws and profound mysteries is very ordinary. Compared to the black bug scripture and luminous sun, the difference is too great. Dongbu Shuang thought to himself. In recent years, he had been meticulously studying and absorbing some of the laws of profound mysteries from the array diagram, continuously perfecting his own secret technique. The more he improved, the greater the gap between them. He was filled with respect for the seniors who created the black bug scripture and luminous sun. Prison. Dongbu Shuang thought. Hua hua hua, countless white chains danced around him. They were incomparably gentle and rippled like water, permeating the entire hall. If it was said that when he was at the second heavenly layer, Dongbu Shuaying's world prison was still layered with all sorts of bindings and restraints, it was extremely hard to deal with. But now, this world prison was as gentle as water, and did not seem tyrannical at all. Only when one was truly trapped in this prison would one understand how terrifying it was. I'm improving. After Jing Qiu's inner world broke through to the fourth heavenly layer, and she obtained a blood-refined deity weapon, she is also improving. Dongbua Shuang mumbled to himself, right now, she can only protect herself in front of my wife. Pitiful. Even now, he was still being suppressed by his wife. Although she had already reached the third revolution of the third volume of the Luminous Sun, 2 years ago, greatly increasing her strength, the blood-refined deity weapon she refined was a gigantic sword that could split into 9 thin swords. These 9 thin swords displayed some of the techniques from the remnant of the heart sword diagram, and were extremely powerful. Clearly, the large amount of array diagrams from the Black Bug scripture was of great help to Jing Qiu when she was comprehending the remnant of the heart sword diagram. Dongbua Shuang was considered not bad amongst stage 4 world deities, but he could only protect himself. However, being able to protect himself meant that the two of them were very close in strength. In the starry sky, on a cold, desolate star. This star was completely condensed from ice, emitting an endless amount of cold air. The gravity here was extremely strong, and even ordinary transcendents would not be able to survive here. Hua! An old man with snow-white hair and a snow-white beard, dressed in a black robe, suddenly appeared out of thin air, appearing in the depths of this icy planet's Grand Canyon. He stretched out his hand, and a crystalline grain of sand appeared in his hand. With a thought, the crystalline grain of sand changed into ordinary ice particles. He threw it, and the grain of sand in his hand burrowed into the layer of ice beneath his feet, becoming inconspicuous. So, he took a step forward and immediately disappeared. He had already arrived at another void far away. Looking at the distant dark star, the snow-white bearded black-robed old man laughed coldly. I, Mo Shua, am about to lose my true deity heart and am preparing to reincarnate. Why would I be afraid of your threats? To be able to use this old life of mine, which is about to die, to fight for a future for my daughter, it is worth it. My daughter's husband is Dongbua Shuang. My daughter has already reached the stage 4 world deity realm. With my daughter's talent, although there is hope for her to become a powerful existence, it is still very difficult. However, with my help and her husband's help, she will definitely succeed. Monarch Mo Shua felt extremely carefree in his heart. Just a moment ago, another of his avatars had done something that made him feel delighted. Hong Long Long, suddenly, a huge black array diagram began to appear in the surrounding vast void. The array diagram spanned more than 1 trillion miles, and each and every star was just a small dot in this huge array diagram. Under the cover of the terrifying array diagram, the surrounding spacetime was completely sealed, and even solidified. Even with Monarch Mo Shua's strength, he could only fly with difficulty. Mo Shua, you can't escape. Hong 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 hong. Consecutively, 5 figures appeared in different directions of the huge black array diagram. 5 figures, each with a powerful aura. One of them was a huge black dragon with its head held high. There was also an old lady, leaning on a wooden walking stick. The old lady's hair, however, extended for hundreds of millions of miles, turning into grayish-brown tree roots. Countless tree roots took root in the void. There was also a cold youth. Apart from the 3 of them being powerful existences. Of the other 2, one was a charming red-robed woman, and the other was a rock giant whose entire body was burning with flames. These 2 were stage 4 world deities, but their power was not the least bit weaker than powerful existences. Mo Shua, your true deity heart is about to break apart, and you have no hope of transcending. Why must you fight with us for the true god weapon? The rock giant bellowed, flames rising from the surface of his body. Mo Shua. The huge black dragon said, if you hand over the true god weapon, you still have a chance to reincarnate. Otherwise, you won't even have the chance to reincarnate. I really don't know where you, Mo Shua, got the guts to actually dare to trick me. The cold youth's eyes were filled with anger. Mo Shui, if you turn back now and listen to me, I naturally won't treat you unfairly. The 5 terrifying experts surrounded him. Monarch Mo Shui laughed, threatening me. I, Mo Shui, have been unhindered in the deity world for over 10 billion years, and today, my true deity heart is about to break apart. What do I still have to fear? If you continue to resist, you won't even have the chance to reincarnate. The cold youth bellowed. Reincarnate? How many stage 4 world deities can succeed in reincarnating? Monarch Mo Shui sneered, don't use this to threaten me. Supervisor Envoy Mansion, Underground Hall. Snow Eagle, Snow Eagle. Dongbua Shuang was currently cultivating when Jing Qiu's voice came from another secret room in the hall. Amen. Dongbua Shuang opened his eyes, and the door leading to another secret room opened. Jing Qiu immediately walked in. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Dongbua Shuang looked at his wife. Jing Qiu was anxious and uneasy. Snow Eagle, something happened to my father. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.